On this episode of Tastycast, we will be discussing new game releases for September, talking about what games we've been playing. We're going to watch Far Cry 6 official overview trailer. Game's coming out soon, so we got to know what to expect. Then we got Marvel's Midnight Suns official extended gameplay walkthrough trailer. They talk about what to expect in that game as well. And then I also have pulled Marvel's Midnight Suns, The Hunter and Wolverine vs. Sabretooth gameplay full presentation. This is a 20-minute video. I don't know if we're going to watch the whole thing, but if it's interesting enough, we will. But we're going to be watching some gameplay there. And then, of course, we'll be reading your comments. But before we get into all of that, I want to let you guys know that October is our community pick game of the month. That means you guys get to pick the game in October that we will be playing. This is how you do it. This month, September, you can vote once per video. Any video that comes out in September that includes episodes, stream episodes, anything. Go into the comments, type in GOTM, and your vote. Whatever game you pick will be tallied once per video, and at the end of the month, I will find out what the top 3 most voted for games are. I'll throw them in a hat, and then I will roll a random number generator and find out what the winner and 2 runner-ups are. 2 runner-ups will make it into our Game of the Month list for future episodes. You'll still come up at some point, but the one that wins will be our Game of the Month for October. So you have to vote to win. You can vote once. You can vote on every single episode, and also keep an eye out for double and triple point signifiers that might happen in the episodes to get an edge on your competition. And yeah, I'm excited to find out what game you guys pick for us to play in October. And you have all month to vote until the end of the month, where I will cut you guys off and we will find out on this month's episode of Game of the Month. So I can't wait to find out what game you guys pick for October. You can vote throughout the month or wait till the end of the month, right near the cutoff, and vote all at once. Do it however you want. Pay attention to the episodes to find those double and triple points, and we will find out on Game of the Month. Quick reminders to download and play Hitman 2, Overcooked, All You Can Eat, and Predator Hunting Grounds, all offer for free on PlayStation Plus. Make sure to download those, play those, come back at the end of this month for Plus Club to let us know what you thought of those games, and we will let you know what we thought of them. And our Game of the Month randomly picked is Valheim, which is a third-person Viking survival building adventuring game. I'm sure you've heard of it. It was very popular when it came out, and there is an update coming out this month, which is so perfect for this. We're going to play it. We're going to talk about the end of the month for Game of the Month, and that's when we will reveal your pick for Game of the Month in October. So come back for that. And then, yeah, we have a Discord link down below. You can talk to us anytime, all the time. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast platforms if you prefer to listen to us. And we have a Patreon if you'd like to support this channel further than liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. If you're brand new, let's get into Tastycast. What's going on, guys, and welcome to episode 148 of the Tastycast, our weekly podcast where we talk about random things in gaming. My name's Seth, and joining me, of course, today is, to my left, your right, Chevy, my brother. How you doing? You excited to talk about the things we're talking about today?
I'm always excited. Can't you tell?
I'm very excited.
I'm all right.
You're just glowing with excitement.
All the time. I'm a very excitable guy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing all right. I had some weird sleep the last couple days, so my energy's been a little weird, but feel pretty good right now.
It's good. Kris, welcome back in the box, your rightful home, your kingdom.
I borrowed that box pretty recently, just so you know.
Chevy was in the box, yeah. I forgot about that already. How you doing? And are you excited to give us your impressions of Cyberpunk?
I'm always excited to give my impressions of things. Having my voice heard always makes me feel great. But
Validate me.
I'm fucking tired.
Yeah.
I've been having weird sleep as well lately. I've been having weird dreams. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts with drag queens in them, and if you know this person, you'll know that Lady Bunny has been appearing in my dreams lately, which is terrifying, but it is what it is.
I don't know who that is. I will have to look that up, but I'm sure somebody out there watching will understand the reference. Yeah, well, weird sleep. That's an interesting one. Typically, we're always like, I'm tired, but this time around, everybody's sleeping weird. So, I mean, it was a little extra warm last night for me, but I slept like a motherfucker, dude. I couldn't wake up this morning. But yeah, enough about sleep. We recently talked about Cyberpunk 2077, which was a great conversation, and a lot of people had things to say about it, and I appreciated that, a lot of nuance. But you weren't there for that, for life reasons, and Yeah, I would like to know your impressions of the game because I know you did play it, and give it a grade if you want to.
All right, so I'm gonna forego any kind of like visual bugs that kind of have been like prevailing, like people tend to prattle on about. I experienced very little of them. They happen. End of that discussion.
Any well, one
Uh,
one thing real quick. Anything game breaking worth mentioning?
Only one that I came across that I could consistently reproduce, and it was using the monowire weapons, which are this kind of like whip style weapons you get as an attachment, and trying to parry with them would crash the game every time, and very consistent every single time I would parry, it would crash the game. So that's the only thing I ran into that was game breaking.
Which is interesting because you played on PC. You got a high end rig. I got a pretty good rig myself, and I also used that weapon that didn't happen to me. So this is just a good example of the problem of the game in which everybody has their own issues.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I will say it didn't sour my experience in the game at all. Um, I went to this game blind. I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't have an experience with Cyberpunk as like the tabletop game, or any kind of understanding of what that was going to be like outside of what kind of like little we talked about it here and there. Uh, but I will say I am very, first of all, grateful for the character creation in that you can make your character have male or female voice, regardless of physical body or genitalia, which are also interchangeable to however you feel comfortable playing the game, which I think is fantastic and wonderful. And any kind of games these days should have that kind of feature if they're having character creation where you build your own character. I don't see why it's not. And even though when you're playing the game, your genitals don't really make any visual appearances as you're playing the game, it's still nice to have the option to play your character and build them how you feel comfortable representing you in a video game,
full
which is
immersion.
very nice. Yeah, full immersion and representation matters. So it's nice to see that included. Um, that being said, the gameplay is very much reminded me of kind of like a GTA style gameplay. You kind of run around, do these missions. You know, you can shoot people, you can do melee, whatever you want to build your character to. But there is that kind of like RPG esque style of build your character how you want to, which I absolutely love. I absolutely love the free range to play how I want to play. Uh, that being said, the story is so compelling in that there are moments that I actually started crying while playing the game. During the ofrenda was very, like, just very moving for me. And it was very like, just it's strong emotions were brought up for me during that, and I wasn't really expecting that.
Yeah, me neither.
And then there's
That's cool to hear.
Yeah, and there's a scene later on where you visit a doll, and I won't go into too much detail for spoilers, but it was almost this moment of kind of like weird feeling of being heard and seen from an AI talking to a real person. It was like this crazy like moment of feeling really connected to the game itself, and it was just so like just it's hard to put into words just how it made me feel exactly, but it was a fantastic moment in this game that is going to stick with me forever.
Hmm.
Um, and it's such a blast to play, despite the little visual bugs you get here and there, or the game crashing, which I adjusted my playstyle for. I wasn't really too deep into mono wire, so it didn't make a big deal, anyways. Um, but I keep playing it constantly. I even play it, whenever, even though once it's over, I still play it. And
Yeah.
I want to make new characters and play different builds. I love it. It's such a good game. You just have to look past the little visual bugs that happen here and there. And the story is just so raw. That's the best way I can put it. It is very raw and realistic to a point of like, yeah, it's sci-fi, but it's putting the story of you trying to be a gangster and the realization, the reality of the fact that not everybody makes it
Hmm.
in that, and how brutal that world can be. It is very unforgiving
Yeah,
in telling
it's a
that story to you.
bleak game in every regard. Story,
Yeah.
atmosphere, everything about it.
I think it's kind of the beauty of the cyberpunk genre.
Yeah.
Because
And
everything's
they
super bleak.
capture it in that game. I mean, say what you will about anything about that game, the people who made it definitely like Cyberpunk and definitely were trying to make that the closest thing to that that's been made in a video game. So,
It's just so amazing. And for that, I'm gonna give the game an A minus, and I only give it the minus because the game has a bug that crashed, and because there are a few visual bugs here and there, a couple audio bugs that happen. Outside of that, though, the game is amazing, absolutely wonderful.
That's crazy. I was not expecting to hear that from you. That's pretty cool.
It's also a first person like shooter, pretty much. That's
Yeah,
kind of
but it's also a hard RPG.
yeah, for sure.
Like, aiming at the person and hitting them is the only part of it being an FPS there is. There's all other factors going into
Yeah, I
stats
mean,
and
even
shit.
even when we talked about it, I equated it to Mass Effect a couple times. Not the third one, but 1 and 2 for sure. So
Yeah. No, that's really cool to hear. I was not expecting you to go so high. I also gave it an A minus, and I pretty much gave the exact same reason I would go higher. But there are obviously issues with the game that I would like to see them fix. But underneath that, there's a fantastic game there. I think Chevy graded
Mhm.
the lowest,
I think I gave it a B plus.
B plus. Yeah, I mean, like, it wasn't a low grade. So, though, if you want to hear a full conversation, make sure to go check out that whole episode. It's almost like 2 hours long. It's a full on conversation, so check that out. Even though I'm revealing grades here, but there's a lot to be said about the game. Yeah, I was curious about what you were going to say about it because as me and Chevy were fucking going crazy and hyping this game up like everybody else, um, you had like a slight interest in it, but you weren't like, holy fuck, I can't wait to play that. And like, so, and then you didn't rush out to buy it. And as the drama was happening, you weren't really partaking in that. Um,
Nope.
so it's cool that you got to play it in its current state right now, which is the best state it's been in so far. And you got to go in blind, which oddly enough, as a person who played the game on release, nothing got spoiled for me in this game because the conversation was about something else. And by the time I got to play it, it was all genuine surprises for me,
Yeah,
which
same.
was fucking wild. Like, it's the only game I've ever played where like I got to just not play it and not hear shit about it because everybody's just complaining about the problems. But
We're just regurgitating what someone else said.
yeah, exactly. So I'm glad you got to go in blind and kind of find out what kind of game this was, and apparently worked well for you because you said way more positive things than I thought you were gonna say. Um, so that's really cool, and you gave the exact same grade as me. So I mean, for the exact same reason. So we're pretty much on the same page there. Anything else you want to say on Cyberpunk?
It's I think everybody who is mature enough to play this game should 100% give it a chance and just look past the little visual bugs. Just enjoy it for the compelling story that it has.
You're asking a lot of people.
That's a recommendation me and Sarah both gave. We're like, you should just, if you were like in good faith curious about this game, not bad faith trying to find something to pick it apart about,
Yeah.
check it out. That was my loose recommendation, was everybody who is curious about this game, check it out for sure. And yeah, and then also one thing I touched on with Cyberpunk in that episode is they had put the multiplayer on hiatus, but they are re-upping it again and working on it. You have interest in playing this game multiplayer?
I 100% want to play it with everybody else. I want to see how that works. So if it's going to be like GTA, we're just going to run and do some missions together or what have you. I'm 100% want to play with other people.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think even the moment the game got advertised, I think most people, specifically people who were familiar with the property itself, were like, so I get to run with my friends, right? So
yeah.
yeah, definitely a much wanted feature, but I do appreciate them putting the work in to get that single player tightened up.
Getting everything working correctly, finding out all the bugs, and then hopefully, if they had already started development on that multiplayer, maybe scrapping some of the stuff that wasn't working from the same build and starting from the ground up with all the stuff that they've improved upon.
Sure.
I can wait on it as long as they execute it well. They'll get a second chance from me, but a lot of people, they're not going to get it. So unless they prove themselves over and over and over again, eventually people will come back to them. Anyone who's like that upset about the situation, but
Yeah.
the multiplayer, definitely I'm curious, and I'm glad to hear that they are putting the work in on it again. Yeah. Anything else? No.
No.
Very cool. Very cool to hear. And of course, let us know in the comments if you didn't get to talk about it in the last episode. What's your thoughts on Cyberpunk? Although, check out that episode if you did not. Um, yeah, so it is the first Tastycast of September. That means we got to jump into game releases. We're going to read a list via this is Tech Radar of games coming out in September 2021, and we will talk about our hype for these games or not hype for these games. Anything you guys want to say before we jump into this? Big nah from the crowd. Okay, so I'm gonna practice something. I found out. If you didn't catch me saying this in a prior episode, I found out you can call Xbox Series X and S Xbox Series because they're both Xbox Series, right? So I'm gonna try not to say X and S. I'm just gonna try and say Xbox Series. If I say that, you know what I'm saying. Okay. I'm so excited about this because every time I'm like I don't want to keep saying X and S, X and S, X and S. All right, so going through the list, we got The Artful Escape on September 9th, coming out on Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC. Then we got Life is Strange True Colors, which is getting crazy high reviews, coming out September 10th on Xbox Series, PS5, PS4, Xbox One, PC, Stadia, and Switch. So it's coming out on everything. Then we got Tales of Arise, same day, September 10th, coming out on PS5, Xbox Series, PC, PS4, Xbox One. Then we got NBA 2K22, which we'll be getting on PlayStation Plus at some point, I'm sure. September 10th, PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Then we got a WarioWare coming out. WarioWare Get It Together, September 10th as well, which seems to be just the day this fucking month. Coming out on Nintendo Switch, of course. That's September 10th. Deathloop comes out September 14th, finally, on PS5 and PC. Then we got Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant Kingdom Prince's Edition, September 17th. That's quite the jump on Switch. And then we got Origami 2 coming out September 17th on PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Then we got Kena, I forgot how you say that. Bridge of Spirits actually coming out September 21st on PS5, PC, and PS4. Then we got Sable September 23rd, Xbox Series, Xbox One, and PC. Diablo 2 Resurrected September 23rd, PC, Switch, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Series, Xbox Series. Lost Judgment comes out already September 24th on PS5, Xbox Series, and then we got Dragon Ball Z Kakarot coming out on Switch on September 24th as well. And then also on September 24th for PS5, we got Death Stranding Director's Cut. Spoiler, I'm buying that for sure. Then we got Ghost Runner September 28th on PS5, Xbox Series. Chernobylite coming out on the 28th as well. PS4, Xbox One. Lemnis Gate coming out also on September 28th. PS5, PC, Xbox Series, and Xbox One. In Sound Mind comes out September 28th as well. PC, PS5, Xbox Series, and Switch. And then New World. Is it actually coming out?
Yes.
September 28th on PC, finally. Hopefully it's in good shape. Then we got Outer Wilds Echoes of the Eye coming out September 28th. September 28th's got some fucking shit coming out. PS4, PC, and Xbox One. Hot Wheels Unleashed comes out September 30th on PS5, Xbox Series, PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. And then we got Darksiders 3 coming out on September 30th on Switch. And then last but not least, hopefully, is Astria Ascending September 30th on Xbox Series, Xbox One, PC, Switch, PS4, and PS5. Kris, what games on the list are you overwhelmingly crazy excited for? You gotta have them. And what other games exist that you don't give a shit about? All of them?
Well, I think the only thing I'm really remotely interested in is the WarioWare game, to be honest.
It's been a while since we got a WarioWare game.
And even that's like a game I played like passing, so
Yeah. I'm pretty excited for that one as well. Chevy, what games?
I have an interest in Tales of Arise. I don't know.
Did you play the demo yet?
No. I say I don't have a heavy interest because I'm not 100% sure I'm going to like the combat in it, so I need to try the demo. I'm buying WarioWare. I've already seen some of it. It looks pretty cool. I already own Ni no Kuni 2, but just kind of a shout out for it. If you have a Switch and you haven't played Ni no Kuni 2, buy that game. It is very fun.
Yeah, it's dope.
Story does not matter though, so don't worry about that too much. But it is a fun game.
Yeah, it's like one of the games. It's like games without a story. Ni no Kuni 2. And people are like, who's got a story? Nah, it's barely.
It's there.
It's
but,
there. It doesn't matter. They didn't care. You shouldn't either.
I believe I don't know how to pronounce this, but Kina
I think it's Kina.
Bridge of Spirits was an interesting looking one. So I have an interest in that.
It's got the little chubby dude in it.
The problem is I recognize some of these names, but I can't picture them off the top of my head right now. Because I think Lost Judgment is.
The Yakuza detective game.
Oh yeah, it's a sequel though, so I
Yeah.
have to play the first one. So I mean, I have an interest, but there's no way I could pick that one up because it would just be the wrong order to play them in. I do have an interest in Death Stranding Director's Cut, but I can probably wait a little bit on that one because I have a bunch of stuff in a similar vein that I just haven't played yet, like the Final Fantasy VII Integrate is a good example of that. What else? New World I'm picking up with the knowledge that I'm probably not going to stick with it, but I want to give it an honest shot, so I'm going to buy it. And I think that's it.
Sick. I have a morbid curiosity for Life is Strange True Colors because I like to torture myself. Maybe it's awesome though, but the trailers I watched seemed like it was on brand. So hopefully the writing's decent.
Aliens.
Yeah. Tales of Rise, 100% buying that. I mean, in 24 hours. So I will be playing that this weekend. Very excited. I don't know what I'm gonna pick it up on though. PS5 or PC, probably. I'm not sure. Definitely not Xbox One. WarioWare. I'm gonna play Chevy's and see if I want it. Deathloop, I think I'm gonna pick up. I kind of want to give it a chance. It's a game that had no interest in and still don't have any interest thematically, but gameplay wise looks fun. So I want to check it out. I'd like to see some reviews. Kina, I'd like to see some reviews on as well. That was one of the games they showed off early on for PS5. In one of those like indie showcases, so it looked cool. Hopefully,
hype, yeah.
got a lot of hype, way more hype than I was giving it. But a lot of people are stoked for it, so that's cool. And hopefully, in the reviews, it shows that it's great. I would love to play Diablo 2 Resurrected, but currently I'm not playing Blizzard games. So, and I don't know when that's gonna be. Hopefully, they can make things better by Diablo 4, but I don't think it's gonna happen. So yeah, I'm not picking that up. And then, which sucks. I'm sure they fucking ruined it though. Anyway, Lost Judgment, I want to pick up. If I had played the first game and beaten it by now, I would be picking this up day one because it looks awesome. But I haven't played the first game, so maybe I should start there, and I will pick up Lost Judgment later. Death Stranding Director's Cut, first day buy, 100%. I was actually flirting with the idea of picking this up on PC, but this is only coming out on PS5, the Director's Cut, and I've already beaten it on PS4. So I'm excited to try it on PS5 and with all the new content. Very excited. I'm hearing myself again. Fucking shit. And then New World, definitely picking that up as well. That is a game that I still haven't played it. I haven't even been in a beta or anything. But like you, I'm going to give it a chance. I want to, even if this is how bad this is, even if New World fucking sucks, I still want to pick it up because I need to show people that MMOs are wanted. So I think it's important. New World and the other one, make money.
Ashes of Creation.
Yeah.
And Lost Ark.
Yeah. Well, Lost Ark's like a Diablo style game, but yeah. But yes, because there's the MMO drought happening, and anyone who has the balls to make an MMO right now, I think deserves some kind of support for even trying that endeavor. And yeah, that's everything that I'm picking up this month. All right, I had a quick audio hiccup there, but I think we got it fixed. But of course, let us know in the comments what games coming out in September are you most excited for? Is there anything coming out that's not on this list? I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but World War Z Aftermath, I think comes out of this month or next month. So I'm excited for that. So if there's something else we didn't mention, let us know in the comments what you're most excited for and what games to avoid. Are you excited for Kina, Life is Strange, Hot Wheels Unleashed? Let us know in the comments below. All right, let's jump into what we've been playing, where we talk about the games we've been playing. And yeah, let's start with Kris. What games have you been playing?
Oh my goodness. Quite a bit actually. So I've been playing some Warframe. Nothing crazy new to report there. Although as of recording today, there was a new update. So there's a new Prime frame out. There's some new weapons, stuff like that. So the endless grind on that. Fun. Mindless grinding. I did start in what it's considered hard mode. It's called the Steel Path, where you go back through all of the floor system, and the enemies are level 100 plus.
Hmm.
So it requires like you have to have some pretty strong frames, have good survivability to do it, as well as really strong weapons to just kill them. And so I've just fallen back to playing Trinity and just being like, I heal and absorb everything. So fuck you all.
Interesting.
Um, but it's still a struggle. So I need some adjustments and some forma and stuff like that. So it's fun there. I played a tiny bit of Risk of Rain 2 with some of the community members. And that was fun. And always, the ever struggle of I need this. Well, I need this too. Well, fight for it type scenario. But it was fun. Um, Nothing really crazy to talk about there. It's Risk of Rain 2. We played it before, so it's fun there. Uh, of course, Cyberpunk, which talked about already. But I have been playing a bit of Phasmophobia
Yeah, I
again
saw
with
that.
some community members. And let me tell you, nothing. It is so for a game that doesn't like have super high quality graphics. It gets spooky, fucking spooky,
Oh yeah.
and
Yeah, I don't jump easy, and that game's horrifying to me. It's also funny sometimes, but it's also scary as fuck. And it's multiplayer, which is like a feat of its own. Multiplayer
yeah.
horror, like it doesn't work almost ever, and Phasmophobia is like horrifying. So they nailed it. Like they had a great idea and they executed it.
And one of my favorite moments recently was instead of dying, being the first one to die, which usually happens for me in this game.
That's Josh
Uh,
typically with me.
I was the last one to die, and I'm outside the house as Keith, one of the community members, is inside, kind of in this kitchen dining room area, kind of talk to the ghost. And he goes, starts screaming, "Oh, I'm dying, I'm dying!" So I run back with the camera, and I'm looking through the kitchen window, just snap, like fucking paparazzi at his murder.
Oh man.
It
Yeah,
was good times.
yeah, that game's fucking scary, and it's a really good game to stream too, because it's just like the randomness of it and seeing people react and shit.
Some
Um,
streamers I watch play it pretty frequently.
yeah, I was playing the fuck out of it when it first came out. I haven't played it since, but recently they had an update that I'm really interested in. They added some new equipment, like a laser field and like a night vision camera and shit that's different looking now, and I'm really excited to hop back into that. And then I saw you play, and I was like, wait, people are playing this right now? So
Yeah, the DOS projector is
yeah,
it's spoopy because you just all of a sudden see this image of a body running at you, and it's just terrifying. Terrifying.
yeah, they did such a good job with that game. Like I can't give that game enough credit. It's a little janky, but the idea is such a genius idea that it's
Mhm.
like just the sheer randomness of every time that you play it makes it so worth replaying over and over and over again. And like the scares and like all that stuff, it's like, going in a bathroom and you hear somebody or you see something over, or so you come back, and especially if you play the game full immersion, you don't play it like through Discord or whatever. You actually talk in game. It's fucking horrifying because you can go to talk to somebody and you don't hear anything from them anymore, and then they're just dead somewhere, and you have no idea what the fuck happened. I even talking about it makes me want to fucking play that game.
The maps, like the beginning maps, they give you the small houses. After a while, I'm just like, all right, let's do this. Let's get in here. It's manageable, whatever. And then they bump you up to the medium maps, which is a high school and a prison, and they feel massive,
Oh yeah,
and it's horrifying to walk through them. Horrifying.
yeah. I heard they retooled the school. I don't know how exactly, but I think they separate into three sections, and the ghost will only haunt one of the three sections, so you spend less time walking all over that fucking bitch because it's huge. It's like, especially when you do the
Yeah.
house. I prefer doing the houses because I think it's more fun and it's less like of a hunt and trying to find the haunting. Um,
hmm
but yeah, I think they addressed that. So with that, which makes sense. Like you just be on the west wing or east wing or the center of the school once you find where they're like haunting and shit. So
Pretty much gives you 3 maps then, though.
yeah, and the prison I fucking hated playing. It was way too
Oh,
big and way too many ins and outs and corridors and shit. And once you run into it, you're like fucking miles away from the van, and like it's just it was not well designed. So hopefully they did something similar to that, but I haven't read about that.
I I don't know, and I see the option somewhere for large maps, which I have not seen yet,
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck
and
a
I
large
just
map is if those aren't.
yeah,
Is it like
for
a
real. Like,
fucking
what would it be?
is it like a theme park or some shit? Like
Fucking
Multiple
5-story
halls.
hotel, go through each floor.
Disney World? You go in one of 7 parks?
Ooh,
That'd be pretty cool.
but it's fun. I'm enjoying it. Uh, what else have I been playing? I don't think I've been playing anything else, to be honest. Yeah, no, I've been working too much.
Working boy. Yeah, I feel that. Um, yeah, Chevy.
Uh, Final Fantasy 14. I got my monk to level 80, so now I have 4 jobs left till I get my mount. Uh, did most of my leveling doing pretty much every roulette. If you're not familiar with that, that's daily, like a dungeon, a raid, a boss fight, a large scale raid, or they're called alliance raids in the game, and then PvP. So, which I have been doing just because the EXP gain doing once a day is pretty massive. So I was able to get a full PvP glam for my monk as well, which is really cool looking. And then gone back to leveling warrior again, but I just cannot bring myself to tank, man. It's just not fun for me. Um,
True. Doesn't sound fun.
no, a lot of people love it, but it just doesn't do it for me. Played a little bit of Minecraft, but I didn't play on our server. I was playing just kind of like experimenting on single player map, so nothing like really to write home about as much as like I wanted to see like what kind of stuff I could do with copper and glowberries and all that stuff because we have only recently found the stuff in the server because anyone who's played Minecraft for a while knows that when new stuff comes out, any chunk you've already loaded won't have it. You have to go further and further out to find that stuff. So,
Generate that shit.
so yeah. Oh no, I did play on a server a little bit because I can't remember what they're called. Is it azalea?
Hmm.
They're flowered bushes essentially. It's a new plant type that grows on moss, which is a new block type. Uh, so I got those. Have I played anything else? Oh, this is a random one. So they released Cookie Clicker on Steam for $5, which is kind of funny because Cookie Clicker is a free game on browser.
Yeah.
But the perk is you get achievements in cloud saving. So I was like, fuck it. So
I feel like you've played that game. If anyone has played the game a lot, though, you just buy the game.
well, yeah,
Support it.
I think the cloud saving is a good thing, and you can export and import your web save too. So
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
if you've gotten time out of that game, I mean, they probably made ad revenue off that game, but
guaranteed.
but if you liked it a lot and you played it a lot, like, why not support the person who made it? Buy the game, or
Yes,
don't just play it online.
I picked that up just to kind of. I actually never did play Cookie Clicker. I skipped that one. So
I fucking had a thing for like a week where I was playing like I felt like I was on drugs playing that game.
it definitely feels older than some of the new ones. Though you could see it does seem like they did take some steps because they're still updating it. So
That's fucking crazy.
to add stuff to it. I don't know if they had it when you played or not, but it had this like it's like a sugar cluster that'll start growing over like 20 hours or whatever, and then when it grows you can use it as a currency to buff different like things. Yeah, so
I played Cookie Clicker like 8 years ago.
Yeah.
So it was a long time ago.
for sure. That's why I was thinking saying
I was like a whole
they've-
different
they've
person
added
back
a
then.
bunch of stuff to that game. So and I can just have it run while watching YouTube. Just pretty much I always like to
Yeah.
have something like that, so
Shit's dangerous.
I've played enough clickers at this point.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
Either of you download the PlayStation Plus games?
Nope, I gotta do that and we're done.
They are out.
Negative.
They are out. Everybody downloaded those and played those and come back to the Month Plus Club. On that note, I've downloaded Hitman 2 Overcooked and Predator Hunting Grounds. I have not played them yet, though. So I won't be talking about those. And I have also not played our Game of the Month, Valheim. So I am behind. It's already the 9th, and I haven't played any of the games. So I'm going to make an effort on that soon. I've only been playing one game, though, and I've put about 50 hours into it as of right now. And that is Aliens Fireteam Elite. It's the only game I've been playing lately. I've been playing it a lot. If you don't know what Alien Fireteam Elite is, it is a game in the Aliens universe. I think it's like post the movies. So it's, I don't know how long after, but it's after all the movies and stuff. It makes references to them. You play a fire team, an elite one. And yeah, it's 3-player co-op. It is similar to Left 4 Dead. But in my opinion, more similar to World War Z. There's pretty big differences in the two. You start missions and go from the beginning and to the end, doing different scenarios. So it's a lot of just shooting and survival. There are now 6 classes. I was gonna say there's 5, but they literally just added one today. And yeah, each class has different perks. There's like 30 guns in the game. I think 31 now because they had a new gun. 70 attachments for those guns. I think I've gotten them all. Because there's hidden caches all over the levels.
Okay.
And they give you cosmetic and attachment items and weapons. And when I open those now, I just get temporary utility things to use. So I think I've unlocked everything, which is kind of sad. And yeah, you shoot xenomorphs of different sizes and groupings, different difficulties, and yeah, I've been playing the shit out of it lately with 2 people, Sarah and Josh, but also with randos. Even though its matchmaking system's kind of annoying, you can matchmake per mission and difficulty. So if in that moment you're picking this level to matchmake with people online and somebody's not searching for that game as well, you're not going to find each other. So it would be better if there's just like a quick match button.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's something to add later. And yeah, like I said, I've been really enjoying it. There's a lot of weapons. Huge Aliens fan, so I love everything visually about the game. I love the sound effects. I even love some of the campy, dorky stuff that people say in the game. The game does start out feeling a little easy, even on the casual setting, but it does ramp up quite a bit as you go further into the campaign and then turning the difficulties up. There's a gear score as well to kind of give you a guide to if you should be doing this mission on this difficulty, which is mostly based off of the perks you have equipped. Speaking of the perk system's really fucking cool, and it's something I wish I'd like to see other games do. I've never seen this before. So you get perks, and they are either 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 slots across. You have a Diablo style inventory for your perks. On the right side, you have one of your abilities. On the left side, you have your other ability. And on the bottom, you have your passive ability. Any perk that pertains to your abilities has to attach to your ability that you want it to attach to. So there's some perks that are only for that ability and some that can work for both. And so you have to attach those, and any perk that also is for that ability has to be attached to that. You have to make like a bridge, essentially, to all the things. It's like a circuit board. Then anything else you have, like something that increases, this stat or that, you have to place on there as well. And so you are kind of managing an inventory of perks in a really interesting way. It's a game of itself. So not only are you going through your perks and making your build, you have to make your build actually work. That's how they balance the game, is that. And it's really fucking cool. I really like it. Sometimes like I'm sitting there just kind of looking at the screen going like, well, if I rotate it this way or that way or this way or that way, I could get this to fit in there. And so there's a whole game in itself on making builds that I think is really fucking cool. Also, as you progress classes, you'll unlock more of that inventory. At first, you only have 2 little blocks open that you can put perks into, and they're not even connected yet. and then you open up more and more of that, and you're able to start getting really intricate with your builds and really kind of crazy. And you go from going like, ah, my guy's kind of okay, to going like, oh, this character's actually really fucking cool. Uh, it's got a bunch of classes. There's a technician who drops like turrets and stuff like that. There is, when you beat the game, a character you unlock called Recon, who does a lot of reconnaissance. They see enemies through walls and stuff like that, which is very useful. You have a I forgot what they're called, but they're like kind of like an assault guy. Oh, it's called Gunner. They're for fucking straight DPS. Like they just wreck shit, and I really enjoy playing Gunner because just the amount of damage you do with that character is awesome. But then you also have Demolisher, I think they call it. It's Demolition something, and they essentially are a heavy weapons character. They use the smart gun from Aliens. They use flamethrowers, big flamethrowers. There's like little flamethrowers you can use with other characters, and they're essentially there for destruction. They're really good for crowds, whereas some characters are good for like in single target enemies. You have Doc, who is a healer. Not that great a one, but they're a healer. They do some stuff that's questionable. I'm like, why do you do it like that? Because Recon has this move where if you're standing within this bubble, it increases your stability and all this stuff. But also, you can put a perk on it that allows every enemy you kill, you get a little bit of health back. It's not as much as the Doc does. But I was playing with the dude today who had it so like it accumulated all of that, and at the end, it just gave you all that health at once. And so like we were always like topped off. We never used health packs when I played with this dude. I was like, I need to look at his build. I have a pretty good recon build myself, but I was like, that dude's a fucking way more efficient healer than the Doc is. That's fucking crazy. And I really like recon compared to Doc. And then the new class that literally just dropped as of today, and I'm already level 7, eight's the highest level per class, is the oh no, Phalanx, which is a tank character. They have a shield that only tanks front damage. Anybody playing this character, you're not just a tank. Your shield negates your damage, not you. But then he also has an ability that he essentially casts it on himself, and it's like when enemies hit you, they start taking damage, or like they get stunned or whatever. There's different versions of it as well. I have it right now, so when I cast it, it shoves everyone back and makes them fall on the ground, and then they take more damage for 4 seconds. So it's a really good like get the fuck off me and kill them move. He also has some perks that allows him to move faster when he has his shield up because he moves slow at first, and stun enemies when he melees them with the shield and stuff. So you could get into like a melee build with him, which is kind of cool because there's no other character like that. They can all swing, but you don't do that in this game. Like you're gonna get fucking killed. But he can do it, and it's pretty cool. And he also has this other ability that I really like that just essentially doesn't do anything to enemies around him. It just gives him 33%. He negates 33% damage coming in. So it's like a little buff, but anyone who hits him also, I think, stumbles or is able to take more damage, something like that. So it's essentially if you're getting swarmed, you can kind of survive better. And it actually worked really good. I was playing with 2 randos and a Praetorian, which is essentially the tank of this game. Came in and fucking we're all fighting it. We got its health down kind of low, but then the Praetorian ended up killing the 2 guys I was playing with. They're on the ground crawling around. I ran away. I popped that move just to give myself a little bit of defense. Ended up killing the Praetorian like barely. I had almost no health. Was able to get the 2 guys up. So that in itself kind of paid for itself. So yeah, new class is pretty cool. At first, I fucking hated it. I was like, this thing sucks. Like, I don't want to have to. There's swarms of xenomorphs coming at me, and you want me to like point my shield at every single one of them? Like, that's almost impossible. Um, but you get pretty good at it. I'm pretty good at like looking in every direction now, just like and blocking people. Oh, and his other passive ability is Bulwark, which every time you get a shield hit, somebody hits your shield, you do more damage. So you want them to hit your shield. So you start fucking just murdering people. So yeah, that's the new class. It's pretty cool. All the other classes are really cool. I think Doc is my least favorite. Technician's cool just because turrets, and he has a slow field he can drop 3 of them. You kind of throw them on the ground, they last for a while. Anything that runs through them goes slow. Yeah. And what else? A lot of customization, a lot of things to unlock. a lot of paint jobs to put on your guns. It has this weird decal system where you can put decals on your gun, just one, and you unlock those through caches. But you can change the size of the decal and rotate them, but you can't do custom paint jobs. So I've gotten kind of creative with it, and like I'll make like a gun like a vibrant red or a vibrant yellow or something like that, or white, and I'll take like an 8 ball decal and I'll stretch it out really big, and then I'll pull it to the front of the gun, and essentially wherever we put the decal, it mirrors it to the other side of the gun perfectly. So I'll take the 8 ball, I'll take the black part, and I'll pull it to the front where the eight's not visible in the gun anymore, and then it just mirrors this black part of the gun, and I'm able to kind of give it some design, which I'm kind of it's not as cool as it could be, but you can make it work in ways that makes everybody's guns look different. Um, and yeah, I think there's 4 chapters right now, 4 or 5, 4, and they all have 3 missions apiece. There's 5 difficulties. So there's quite a bit of stuff to do there, but in the 50 hours I've been playing the game, I am running out of stuff to unlock. Also, one thing they did for anybody who is playing this game, I kind of hate they did this. So every gun you use in the game, it levels, and they all have predetermined abilities unlocked per levels. 4 is the highest level of any gun, and at 1 you get an ability, 2 you get another ability, 3 you get another ability, and 4 you get their max ability. I guess there was a glitch in the game as it's been out since it came out, that even if you were leveling your gun, you still were getting all the abilities, but they didn't tell anybody. And so on this release, they essentially made every gun that's already in your possession 4 stars. And the reason they said they did that is because they don't want to fuck with people's builds. Say you're like level 2 star on a gun, and the whole time you've been like building your gun's attachments based off of the 4 stars you didn't know you had. They don't want to fuck with that. I get that, and I'm sure a lot of people are gonna be stoked, especially people who just want to get through the game, have the best stuff or whatever. They'll be like, "Fuck yeah, all my shit's 4 now." But as a person who has all the guns unlocked already, except for the minigun that just came out, so I got one thing to level. I hate that all the stuff that I was grinding to level up means nothing at this point. And I don't have other things to work towards when it comes to guns now. I already had them all unlocked. I hadn't started working on some of them yet, and now they're all 4 star. So that kind of sucks, but it's not that big a deal, I guess. But it does take some away from what I wanted to do with the game. So I'll be playing the game less than I planned on because of that. So, but I get why they did it. I mean, glitches happen, shit like that happens, and I think they did it responsibly. They didn't piss anyone off. It's just kind of disappointing.
Right.
And yeah, that's the game I'm playing. It's the only game I'm playing. So I would definitely recommend it to anybody who's interested in these kind of games. And yeah, if you like Left 4 Dead or World War Z or Vermintide, you would definitely like this game. Although it's 3-player co-op, it's really interesting. Not 4, but a lot of games that have 3-player co-op always feel more balanced than 4-player co-op games. So 4-player co-op games can feel a little chaotic. I still like them a lot, love them. But 3-player, even though it's always annoying, I always got a fourth person who wants to play. They always feel a little more team oriented. It's like that's like the perfect balance. So it seems. I don't know. I don't develop these games. But yeah, that's what I'm playing. Anything else you guys want to say?
I do have one more game to add. I just thought of it. I have been playing Pokemon Unite on the Switch, which is the MOBA game for Pokemon.
You've seen a little bit.
And it's a MOBA game that it feels like it's very early on in its life cycle because there's not a lot of characters to play. So there's definitely like a very strong meta of like, you need to pick these characters or you're going to have a bad time.
Interesting. Sounds kind of lazy. Or that they haven't got the balance yet.
They definitely haven't got the balance yet, and they're adding more Pokemon. Like I think every couple of weeks, I think they add a new Pokemon. But they definitely need to add a lot more, in my opinion, for the game to feel like a better balanced MOBA. Because I think variety in MOBA games is very important.
Sure, I mean that's a huge factor of them, and Pokemon kind of lends itself to that anyway because the amount of fucking 5,000 Pokemon they got. How does it play though? Like, does it feel good outside of the balance issues?
It plays pretty simple. You have just a button that you can hold down to auto attack, and then you have ZR and R to do your special abilities, which you can pick as your character levels. between one or two for each button. And then you have an ultimate. So it plays controls wise fairly simple. It's smooth. It takes a little bit of getting used to because you have to aim with the right stick while you're moving with the left stick while trying to press buttons at the same time. But it's just a slight adjustment. But other than that, it's pretty smooth gameplay.
Is it third person or top down?
It is top down,
Okay.
but the matches are only 10 minutes, so it's not like you're in there for half an hour fighting people. So they lend themselves pretty quick to quick sessions.
Yeah, I feel like since it's Pokemon, it's probably designed for everybody, so it probably is a casual MOBA.
Yeah, I was gonna say they've designed it with younger audiences in mind. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
I watched a small clip on it where some person was playing. I can't remember which Pokemon it is, but the attack spin was just slapping, and
Wigglytuff.
maybe and they were just winning. When someone in the chat was like, "You're probably beating up kids," and then they were like, "Yeah, probably."
It's a bad revelation. It's like me on Twitter sometimes. I'll be talking to someone, I'm like, wait, this is probably like a fucking 16-year-old.
They definitely are, at least mentally.
Yeah, yeah. No matter what, they're always 16, whether that's their age or their mental state. Do the Pokemon evolve as you fight?
Yeah,
Is it
so
the leveling process?
certain Pokemon will evolve. So like Blastoise was the recently added Pokemon. So when you start the match, you start as Squirtle, and then you reach a certain level, and your character evolves into Wartortle, and et cetera,
cool.
et cetera. Yeah, it's fun. It's real fun.
Yeah, but I just thought of that. I'm like, it'd be such a missed opportunity if they didn't do that. So I'm glad they did. Like, it only makes sense.
Yeah.
But I was like, but then you kind of rob yourself of the amount of characters you could have. But the evolution would be way cooler because it would just fit that leveling feeling of MOBAs. So
You could think,
Yeah, I mean they've got Pokemon from the original Pokemon series to the current Pokemon series, kind of just and everything sparse in between. So I don't think they're gonna have any problem. For a lack of character.
Even with the evolutions, there's still so many Pokemon. It's fucking insane. So
Yeah.
what were you gonna say?
that was pretty much what I was trying to say, was that regardless of if you take those 1 to 2 evolution forms and turn it into one character, you're still gonna have multi-hundred to choose from.
Yeah, if they honestly, if they're just gonna like release every Pokemon individually as a character, the game wouldn't be out. The game would be over by the time they got all those Pokemon out. Like,
Yeah, it's not gonna happen.
that would take fucking years. So, yeah, that's cool though. Kind of makes me. I need to watch a video. I literally have not seen anything on it. I just know it exists. That's it. So, I'll have to look into that. Anything else on that?
It's just a fun little casual game to hop in.
Sounds cool. We'll definitely have to check it out. And yeah, let us know in the comments what games have you guys been playing. Anything you would recommend, anything you're excited for this month. We already went over that, but let me know still. And yeah, what have you been playing? Let me know everything you're thinking about in the comments below. All right, we got a video to watch. Far Cry 6 is coming out soon, and I personally am excited for it, even though I've had a roller coaster of hesitation with that game. As soon as I saw health bars, I was like, God fucking damn it. And then like, you can turn it off. I'm like, okay. Anyway, we have a trailer to watch. It is the Far Cry 6 official overview trailer. This is the trailer I've been waiting for a while now. I've wanted something that kind of explains the game, and here it is. Before we jump into this video, you guys have anything to say? Got any hype? No hype? Indifferent to Far Cry 6? If you played prior Far Cries, spill the tea.
Pretty indifferent. I own the last Far Cry, main number Far Cry, I should say.
5.
Yeah. And I barely played it, so
It's so good.
yeah, I just can't get into it.
So good. Love that game. Kris, thoughts on Far Cry?
I'm pretty much in the same boat as Chevy. I'm pretty indifferent to it. And I think I own 5 somewhere, somehow. It's somewhere. I don't know.
I got it
played
somewhere
it, but-
somehow. It's a magical copy.
I'm pretty indifferent overall.
Get haunted by it like Phasmophobia. Far Cry 5 comes out every once in a while. You're like, oh.
Fucking Lady Bunny comes out of my dreams and Far Cry 6 is me.
Ooh. I don't know if that's scary or fucking a little too hot for this show.
Scary. It's pretty scary.
Yeah. All right. So if you're ready, Chris,
Yep.
we'll
Yep.
start in 3, 2, 1, and go.
This is Yara, an island nation frozen in time and on the brink of revolution. In Far Cry 6, you will join a guerrilla uprising against Anton Castillo. After decades of strife and unrest, Castillo has unveiled a violent plan to drag Yara from the shadows and towards a future of his own design. You play as Danny Rojas. In Far Cry 6, both male and female versions of Danny are playable and share the same narrative experience. At the beginning of their story, we find Danny trying desperately to escape. But an encounter with Diego Castillo, the son of Anton Castillo, begins a chain of events that will thrust Danny into the war for Yara's future.
You're here. That's what matters.
Just a second, hermana. I'm getting the hell out of Yara.
But you're in my camp.
As Danny plunges deeper into the conflict, they will begin to question their own views on freedom, identity, family, and what it
all
means
about
to
family.
fight for an ideal.
Are you ready for your uniform, Rojas?
Yara is the richest Far Cry world yet. Rustic, wild,
climb.
and unique in ways that only isolated cultures can be. Yara's islands are a playground of mayhem and rough and tumble exploration, and this world can be experienced alone or with a friend.
Hell yeah.
Far Cry 6's robust
Hell
co-op
yeah.
features include friend and public matchmaking with XP and inventory progression that carries seamlessly between solo and co-op experiences.
Oh,
Sick.
Free elections, free expression, free the outcasts. A Yara free of Castillos. Simple.
You don't believe me? I'll show you.
Yara is broken into many regions of cultural and natural
There's a
diversity,
little puppy
where
with the
Danny
wheels.
will encounter key groups of locals and become entwined in their own unique
And the chicken.
narratives.
Chicharrone.
Danny must gain the trust of each of these groups to resist Castillo's tightening grip on Yara, and in the process, uncover a wealth of mission arcs and gameplay opportunities.
The game with
Danny will meet the
alligators or crocodiles
Monteros,
or whatever.
a family of tobacco farmers
Can
with deep
swim,
roots in the
get dragged
Yaran
into the water.
countryside. There's Maximus
You want on your
Matanzas
team this
and La
time.
Moral, two young groups bracing to survive Castillo's violence. And hidden in Yara's mountainous jungles, Danny will meet the Legends of 67, a band of ex-revolutionaries whose experience in guerrilla warfare will be essential in the turmoil to come.
Fight until they die!
These groups have
And
different
that's the
backgrounds,
objective.
but all have been the victims of Anton Castillo's master plan. As he ramps up production of Vivido, a revolutionary cancer treatment that Castillo aims to wield as a bargaining chip on the global stage. Yara's regions all play a role in Vivido's production and bear the scars of Castillo's vision. Forced labor, rampant pollution, and military brutality have become a grave reality for its people.
We have to stop Castillo and that Yankee. We? You kids
This
look
looks
like
a
you
lot
could
like the
use a
chicken
little
Devil May
luck.
Cry 5.
Kinda, yeah.
Guerrilla camps are the heart of the rebellion, where outcasts, misfits, and ex-military take action against Castillo's army.
Welcome to Libertad, Danny. Let's free Yara, shall we?
Libertad.
These camps embody
There he
the
is.
scrappy resolver guerrilla philosophy, and this is where you'll plan, assemble resources, gear, and vehicles. You'll develop your camps based on your specific needs by constructing and upgrading barracks, weapons caches, garrisons,
Oh,
and many
yeah.
more. Success as a guerrilla is about adapting to all scenarios and finding ways to win against the odds. Far
Aw,
Cry
you
6
pet that
is a
puppy with the
massive
blood
range
on your
of attachments,
hands.
mods, and
He
ammo
loves
types,
it.
which are customized at workbenches throughout Yara and used to devastating effect.
For a guerrilla, resolver isn't just making do with what you have. It's inflicting chaos with everything you've got.
Keep talking.
And this anything-goes mindset extends to defense, as you'll scavenge any and everything you can to armor yourself against your opponents. Yara is a vast and varied world, persistently woven with
It looks
danger,
fucking very
mystery,
varied.
unexpected challenges, and adventure to uncover. And that adventure goes even further in a series of thrilling special operations as Danny aims to cut off key arteries of Castillo's back-channel global network.
When the guerrillas arrested my family in 67, me, Papa, was dragged to this very cell. We used to talk every single night through this vent. I loved it. He's the same age I was when the guerrillas murdered my father.
A leader, blinded by his vision. A nation caught in the flames of rebirth. And a people fighting through it all to save their identity. Far Cry 6 presents a vivid and dramatic game experience caught in the crossfire of warring ideals, where everyone will go to unspeakable lengths for what they believe in.
This game looks like a first-person Just Cause almost.
Say, I don't know if it's the ending or what. Some of the animations seem really hyper.
Interesting. All right. Well, what do we think? I'll let you guys go first. Probably have less to say.
I mean, it's a good-looking game, and it has a lot of the notes that even like I recognize from Far Cry, like wildlife and the just kind of the tone of like a leader of a country and being surrounded like crazy, like. I guess his politics is more so like they kind of said in this one a vision that the leader has type of deal, and then I'm sure you'll be put in a situation where, like I guess it was it 4 where you talk to the guy and you can actually just hang out and beat the game right at the table there at the beginning. If you
They might do that. I don't know.
So, well, I'm not saying they're gonna do that exact same. I'm just saying like I imagine there'll be dialogue or not dialogue, but opportunities where they'll add in little things like that. So, yeah, I mean, otherwise it looks pretty much how I kind of expected it to look. So,
Yeah, it looks like Far Cry for sure.
yeah,
Which is good for me, but it's nothing revolutionary, all pun intended, outside of some new features. But yeah, Chris?
Trailer didn't really do much for me, to be honest. I'm still not, hyped about the game at all. This will probably be a game that I won't play until it becomes a plus game, to be honest. I was under the assumption, on my own assumption, that we were going to be playing as the son of the leader, and to find out now that we're not is just an interesting little tidbit for me. But beyond that, I just was not interested at all, to be honest.
Yeah, the Sun theory was before the game really got revealed. A lot of people thought you were going to be Voss from 3, which would have been kind of cool, but or at least that character might have evolved into him. But there's no reason to actually believe that outside of loose speculation. But yeah, I get where you're coming from when it comes to it being a first-person shooter. I don't know if we're getting on Plus Club or PlayStation Plus anytime soon though, because has Far Cry come out on PlayStation Plus?
no.
Yeah, they sell really well, so I don't know if they would do that, but we'll see. I mean, that'd be a good get. Any fucking, I wish they gave any Far Cry on PlayStation Plus. I would love to play that. I guess I could just play it. I own them all, but that would be a fun Plus Club. Yeah, for me, I'm a huge Far Cry fan. I fucking love Far Cry. The only one I don't like is New Dawn. I think it's horrendous. I fucking hate it. Which is weird, but considering it continues the story of 5, which I think is one of the best Far Cry games ever made, fight me. But yeah, it looks like Far Cry, which is going to be good or bad to whoever it is. Honestly, a lot of the advertising for this game I don't think has been good. I don't think they've hyped this game very well. So as a Far Cry fan, I just kind of have to trust that they're going to give me a good game because they've pretty much only given me good games. Every single one. I love Far Cry 2, 3, 4, 5. Even their offshoot ones are typically really good. So I assume this game's going to be really fun. At the very least, hopefully have a good story. Surprisingly, Far Cry almost always has a really good story. That's something I'm going to trust here as well. The new setting is interesting. On paper, it sounds like whatever, but visually, what we're seeing here, I think it looks very diverse in the locations, which I think is really cool. It's kind of hard to do with Far Cry because they're always in really remote locations, and they're typically pretty diverse in what you run into. Landscape wise, but this one definitely looks like there's a lot of surprises to be had. Graphically, I think it's gorgeous. A lot of people are saying it looks like Far Cry 5. I agree, but with better graphics. Because with any engine, you're going to keep upgrading it. So even if it's on the same engine, it's definitely been upgraded. I'm sure on PC it's going to look fantastic. Gameplay looks like Far Cry, which is good. I want it to be like that. They didn't show it a lot in this trailer, but the like jetpack stuff they got going on, which are just essentially it seems like their abilities to use. One they just kind of lift off and burn everyone around them real quick. Kind of weird, but as a gameplay element, looks fun. I'm glad this trailer kind of stuck with the people and the environment and the gameplay mechanics. They showed off the town building, which is essentially just access to other things. It seems like if you decide to build up the gun vendor, you'll be able to craft and upgrade your weapons there. And then if you build up, this person over here, maybe you'll be able to buy Molotovs from them. Seems like it's just a progression system, but it's cool. I like the idea of having kind of that choice on what what road to go down first. Choice and progression is always positive, even if it's nothing revolutionary. And yeah, I mean, outside of that, I'm hoping the story's good, and I'm hoping the characters are cool. They really haven't shown a whole lot. They showed one scene before, and it was a cool scene, but it wasn't as like impactful as I think people. I mean, some people kind of said it was, but I was like, yeah, it's whatever. I need to play the game to know, but yeah, overall it was a decent trailer. Could have been better, but like I said, I think they've been doing a really bad job advertising this game. But I think they're to the point with Far Cry that they don't really feel like they need to advertise it that much because Far Cry is very popular and people like me are just going to buy it. So, but it's kind of sucked because, we should have reacted to that on this episode. I guess the new Death Stranding trailer came out that Kojima made, and somebody wrote a whole article about it saying like, why can't people make good trailers like Kojima? And I'm like, that's kind of a good point. Most trailers nowadays, especially games with guns, are some kind of like song that goes do 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 do, and someone shoots to it, boom 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 boom, and that's every fucking trailer, and it's like the same thing over and over and over again. So I do agree that people should work harder on trailers and how they advertise games, stuff like that. But that's a whole different topic that we're not talking about. Overall, I'm excited. I'm gonna pick it up, but this trailer didn't do much for me, and if it didn't do much for me, it probably didn't do much for other people who aren't hyped about it. Game's gonna be fun though, and the co-op I can't wait to play. I'm glad they were very clear about your progression. If you're playing with a friend and going back is just gonna continue. The early Far Cries that they did the co-op did that stupid system where you was just like play as a character in that person's game and none of the progress worked for you. You were just playing with a friend, which was fun, but it feels almost like you're wasting time playing with your friend because you want to be progressing and leveling up on your game too. So I'm glad, they've already done it, but I'm glad here they're being clear about that and letting people know that's how this is going to be. And yeah, that's all my thoughts. Looks cool. Gonna pick it up. Stoked about it. Trailer's meh. Anything else? All right, let us know in the comments what do you think about Far Cry 6 official overview trailer. Did it do anything for you? Are you excited for this game? You're not excited for this game? Are you going to pick it up? How you feeling about Far Cry 6? Is it looking like the game you want? Are you a fan of the prior games? Are you do you got specific ones you like, specific ones you don't like? Let me know everything you think about in the comments below. Next video we are watching is Marvel's Midnight Suns official extended gameplay walkthrough trailer. And if you're hearing me say that and you're like, wait, there's a video that just came out, we're gonna watch that too. But I think it's important we watch this because this is a walkthrough of the gameplay of a game that we saw a very brief little I forgot what event that was. Was that not Tokyo Game Show, Gamescom.
Yeah.
Gamescom, they revealed this game. It's being made by Firaxis, who make XCOM. So that's kind of interesting. It's a Marvel game, and it's probably going to be a turn-based game. So this will explain that whole thing. Before we jump into this, any thoughts on, I keep forgetting the name of this game, Marvel's Midnight Suns, being made by Firaxis?
I think this is a what word do I want? Product of there being so many movies, but I hear the word Marvel, I kind of just get turned off instantly.
Yeah, I got that fatigue.
So we'll see, because if it's a cool game, I can get past that, but I kind of just don't care about superhero stuff at this point.
Yeah. Chris?
I am a Marvel fanboy, to be quite honest. I've always enjoyed them, like early '90s. I really got into the Marvel scene. I kind of stuck with that. So I don't remember much about this game. So I always welcome a Marvel game, but I never have reservations of it going to be good right immediately. Just I'm very cautious about that. So
Yeah. I mean, I was a big comic book guy when I was growing up, and got fatigued from the movies. Way too many movies, too much non-stake movies, and it's kind of ruined cinema in my opinion in a lot of ways. But outside of that, so the brand Marvel, when I hear that, I typically think money, but quality. There's typically quality what they make. So yeah, I don't have hype based off Marvel, but I do have hype based off of Firaxis. First off, making a game. Secondly, interestingly enough, them making a Marvel game. That's fucking crazy to me. And the idea of a Marvel game that is going to be XCOM-like, probably. Sounds kind of cool to me. It feels like you said, that reservation of Marvel could be overwritten, in my opinion, if the game is cool. So, hoping for that. But yeah, really, really interesting what they're doing here, because we only saw that teaser where it just showed a lot of people walk around in like gold suits. So I don't know what the fuck Midnight Suns is. I'm sure it's some comic book thing. Never heard about that. So anything else? All right. Ready, Chris?
yep.
All right. 3, 2, 1, go.
Gaming's greatest strategy and tactics experts have teamed up with the world's greatest storytellers to create a
Bullshit.
new AAA
World's
experience
greatest
unlike
storytellers?
anything
What the fuck are you
before.
talking about?
Welcome to Marvel's Midnight Suns. This new tactical RPG from Firaxis is set in the darker side of the Marvel Universe, packed with a deeply customizable tactical battle system that rewards clever thinking with superhero flair. An epic, supernatural story that brings you face to face against the demonic forces of the underworld. A deep role-playing experience where you get to live among Marvel legends and the first customizable original hero from the Marvel Universe. As darkness falls, rise up with the Midnight Suns and face off against an ancient prophecy foretelling the end of the world.
So does that mean when people have those arguments about like, well, that guy's actually stronger than this guy in actual lore, be like, well, actually my superhero I made in Midnight Suns is more powerful than that character, so, and that's canon. That's a Marvel character, dog.
Lilith will stop at nothing to fulfill the prophecy of the Midnight Sun and bring back her evil master, Chthon.
It's not worth it, dude. Don't do it.
Alongside her is her army of Lilith, demonic forces who carry out her twisted will with fanatical devotion. Pushed to the brink by her return, the Avengers desperately revive a dark power of their own, the Hunter, a legendary hero, forsaken child of Lilith, and the only one known to have beaten Lilith before. In Marvel's Midnight Suns, the player takes on the role of this new hero, who until recently lay peacefully in a centuries-long sleep, tucked away in a quiet crypt on the grounds of the Abbey, the secret headquarters of an organization known only as the Midnight Suns. For the first time in any Marvel game, the Hunter is a customizable original superhero, allowing you to live out your very own Marvel adventure. But you won't be alone. Marvel's Midnight Suns features a legendary collection of heroes that span across the Marvel Universe, including the Avengers, X-Men, Runaways, and more. You'll see these heroes in a new light as you develop relationships and strengthen your personal bonds.
Looks like she's out of fucking
outside
Dragon
the field of
Age.
battle. Every hero has a completely unique set of abilities, ranging from damage-dealing attacks to life-saving skills to epic, game-changing finishers. There are tons of unique costumes to unlock, skills to upgrade, and heroic team-ups that unleash devastating combo moves. With your superhero squad picked, it's time to start fighting back the forces of Lilith. Combat in Marvel's Midnight Suns is a cinematic tactical affair that rewards clever thinking with superhero flair. The player controls a squad of 3 heroes and is dealt a random selection of hero abilities, like a hand of cards. These abilities offer a vast array of tactical choices that expand exponentially when combined with the battlefield itself. Shove, leap, and smash your way to victory using the environment to wreak havoc on your enemies. Send the bad guys face first into a wall, into each other, or just right over the edge. Victory requires a balance of smart tactical thinking and being able to read and react off the battlefield, as well as cultivating your friendships outside of combat and finding the right combinations of heroes and abilities. Battles rage across iconic Marvel locations like Avengers Tower to Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum, from New York City rooftops to underground Hydra installations, from sun-bleached deserts to a hellscape dimension far beyond our own. When the fighting is done, the heroes return to the Abbey, a living hub that the player navigates in real time, experiencing for the first time in any Marvel game what it's like to not just fight alongside beloved Marvel heroes, but to live alongside them as well.
To talk to them.
The Abbey offers hours of rewarding exploration, gameplay, and story for the player to enjoy.
That's cool.
There's even a few lovable, if unique, pets. You get to know your favorite Marvel heroes through careful conversation and shared time together through daily activities. Take a stroll with Tony Stark on the Abbey grounds, or practice meditative yoga with magic.
In the rain.
The choice is yours, but choose wisely, because every hero has their own preferences. Developing deep friendships can unlock powerful rewards in combat and in the Abbey.
There's no romancing, dude. You can't fuck Blade.
Use the spoils of battle to earn new abilities for your
How
heroes down
disappointing.
in the forge. Upgrade current hero abilities out in the yard under Blade's watchful eye. Find new hero ops and missions in the war room with Captain Marvel, and much, much more. When ready, it's time to choose a new mission. Choose your squad of heroes and return to battle. The enemy may grow more powerful with every fight, but the hunter and the heroes will rise in power to meet them, because that's what true heroes do.
All right, we have another video to watch, but quickly, what do we think of that? Well, I mean, what we saw.
I think they did a good job of presenting what the game's going to be and how it's going to play and stuff, which I really appreciated. I also think that like visually, they did a better job capturing Marvel than
Eidos or whatever the fuck made that. Yeah,
the other one did.
I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, they don't look exactly like the movie characters, but you can identify who these characters are.
They look good, yeah. There's just something off about the other ones, and I honestly I can't put my finger on it. They just look wrong.
Yeah. Definitely look wrong.
So, that being said, it honestly it looks like it has a bunch of features and a lot of like side stuff too, which is important when you're making like a role playing game type of thing. I'm not drawn to it at all, and I do attribute that I think to just general superhero burnout. It's not the game's fault at all. I think actually they're doing a lot with the game, and I can really appreciate that. So I still don't know if I'll be picking it up or not.
Yeah, fair. Kris?
I think what you guys were touching on with the way the characters look from the other game is that uncanny valley feel where they're almost trying to look like the movie actors, but they don't quite look like it. So your brain's kind of like, this is weird. Whereas like these characters definitely are much like comic book designed characters, which I appreciate. I will say though, that the characters all have this weird like really thin look to them. They all look like they're really skinny. Which seems kind of odd to me.
That probably comes down to the actual like models of characters for the gameplay element of it. They probably all have the same like similar proportions for hitbox types, not hitbox, but
Rigging.
Yeah, exactly, for positioning and making sure they can traverse the battlefields and shit. But
right.
I kind of noticed that too. They're all very similar in shape.
Yeah. But I do like the subject matter. I mean, I've always liked the magic side of the Marvel character universe, which is what this really touches into. It's just kind of not so much like being mutants or super abilitied humans. They're people who study the magic arts that are related to the Marvel universe, which is really always like kind of fun and like they say, it's a darker side of Marvel. But gameplay wise, I'm not sure if I'm fond of the random card system. Those type of gameplays are kind of hit and miss with me. So I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about it. And they have to stick Wolverine in everything. I'm so sick of seeing Wolverine in every Marvel game. So tired of it.
I honestly am stoked to see him because of the movies and stuff. You don't see him often.
All that licensing bullshit.
Yeah, because it was like Sony and here and fucking there and Fox and
Disney.
Yeah, it's this whole jumbled bullshit that I think it's kind of cool to see Captain America and Blade and Wolverine all in the same place. Doctor Strange, it feels more like the comic books, in my opinion, than like the movies do in that sense. And then on the subject matter of what they're doing, the storyline, and allowing that to be able to make your own character in Marvel and focusing on the magic element, that premise doesn't do much for me, but it is fresh feeling compared to what I'm used to with Marvel. So I'm glad that they chose something that feels a little outside of the box on what is typically the go-to stuff when it comes to Marvel stuff. So I do think the subject matter is, if you're going to do it, you're going to make like an RPG, turn-based RPG out of it. I think they're picking subject matter that will benefit the game. So yeah, I pretty much agree with that. Do you have anything else to add to that?
No, I don't know. It's cool that we get to make our own character, but within the confines of how they laid it out, I'm not too stoked about it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because you're gonna be making their superhero just with some of your choices.
Your visual choices is all you're really doing.
Well, yeah, and I'm sure when you level up, you'll be able to pick certain things. But yeah, I'm curious about how that progression is gonna work, and if you'd be able to pick your own abilities or something like that, that'd be kind of cool. But I don't think they'd give you too much freedom on that, maybe. But I don't know. Pretty much everything about this game sounds awesome to me. Like everything about it. The card system, I'd have to see it in action, which hopefully we do in the next video. But that doesn't have me too stoked. I think card systems are pretty hit or miss. Mostly miss for me, but sometimes they're cool. Yeah, turn-based Firaxis RPG with social features where you get to hang out with characters a la like Fire Emblem. Sounds like a cool system. I know it's not going to get, too intricate on relationships because it's a Marvel property, so you're not going to like romance anyone, I don't think, but it's going to have like a friendship system, which I think is cool. The combat looks fun to me. I think the game looks clean. I think it looks really good. It's not the most amazing graphics, but they're clean. It's really nice looking, and the animations look more modern than Firaxis' last game. Sure, they're gonna have a bigger budget on this game, which is cool to see. And I like that they're doing their formula, just evolving it to something else. And even in like XCOM, you got to go back to a home base, but you had to look at it as more of a gameplay mechanic. In this, it seems like it's gonna be more of a social thing, but also they said like you're gonna explore and unlock things and for lore junkies, talk to people and get more info, stuff like that. But also, like they said, there's rewards. They showed them finding things. I think that's pretty cool. I think in a game where you do spend a lot of time strategizing and having like a battle that takes like 30 minutes to win, it's kind of a good refresher to do more mundane things that are interesting, but not the exact same thing. So I'm really excited about the gameplay loop that they're proposing here. Marvel, though, the skin is the least interesting thing about this game to me, but it's not enough to deter me from playing this game. I will probably pick this game up unless like across the board reviews come out and they're like this game is like complete trash. Then I would wait for a friend or something to recommend the game to me. But as gameplay goes and what they're saying you're gonna be able to do in this game, I think it sounds cool. So I'm definitely interested. So let's start the next video.
Okay.
And it's 20 minutes. I think it's just gameplay, so we're gonna watch it for as long as we're interested. And yeah, this is Marvel's Midnight Suns, The Hunter and Wolverine versus Sabretooth gameplay full presentation. This I think came out like a day ago, so very recent. You ready, Kris?
Yep.
All right, 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi everyone, and welcome to our first gameplay live stream of Marvel's Midnight Suns. My name is Caroline Guevara, producer and your host for today. I am joined by two very special guests, Jake Solomon, our creative director.
Very happy to be here. Very happy to finally play the game.
Of course. And of course, Garth Angeles, our franchise producer.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here as well.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. If you haven't followed us on social media yet, please do so on Twitter and Instagram. Again, that is Marvel's Midnight Suns. Give us a follow so you can be up to date for the latest and greatest. And also, if you want a very exclusive skin for Blade or Night Stalker skin, definitely sign up for our newsletter.
We're into some pretty incredible stuff.
That firelight is lagging.
Right?
That fucking drove me insane. I was like, is that on my end or
now buffering?
Yeah.
And
about to go fucking crazy.
It's been a while, and on behalf of the team, before we do dive in, watching the trailer, watching the gameplay assets that came
This
out,
audio is really
incredibly invigorating.
bad.
To see
Oh,
the
yeah.
reaction from the community, it really does.
It's like
us. We're going to be finishing.
she has the lapel
seeing your
mic,
love
and they don't, and they're just using that to
the team really
take audio for the whole room.
Yeah.
We've also been listening to your feedback already. Very important to us.
Yep.
Yeah, they all seem like they really
one
haven't
piece
done
we
a stream
definitely
before,
wanted to touch on
so.
was the fact that this game is a premium title, an enormous single-player game that is brimming with content, and we're not going to have gameplay microtransactions.
No. I understand why people would think that, but no. Every ability that your heroes can have, they're in the game. You only earn them by playing with the heroes you love. There are no gameplay microtransactions. So
That's
put that to rest.
good.
Put that to rest. Let's just play the game.
Let's get
Let's
into
go.
this.
Let's play, guys.
Play it,
Let's
dude.
go.
Yeah, let's do it. Jay,
Who's
you
basement?
and I used to play another game.
We did.
And we're not quite in Kansas anymore, are we? This looks,
No.
This looks a little
Oh
bit
my
different.
god.
So, you're in control of the hunter, moving her in real time there. You're at the Abbey, which is an
it said
entirely
alpha
new,
gameplay, so I'm sure they'll
superhero
fix it, but the
headquarters that
walk
we
animation kind of drives me
created
crazy. 'Cause
with Marvel.
the animation looks good in itself,
Every
but her
cool
feet are
superhero team has
sliding.
to have a cool
Yeah.
superhero headquarters. This is
I noticed that even.
We're just showing the exterior. We're going to show more of the
shows
Abbey
naturally
at the end of this mission.
And they're like floating off the
Today,
ground and shit.
We're really showing off combat.
Yeah,
we've
I'm
got-
sure that they spent
Oh,
more
yeah,
time
look at
on
that glide.
top-down like gameplay
This is our
than
hunter.
this
We've
third
talked
person
about how
thing. That's probably going to just be a
customizable
hub
they are.
walk
They can look
around feature.
Very
So.
different from this. We're walking by one of the other characters on the team, Magic, my personal favorite character in the Midnight Suns.
It also was incredibly important to us and the team to have a base that reflected something like we all knew and loved when we were kids with Marvel.
Yeah.
Avengers Tower, X-Men, and the X-Mansion. Now having your own base is such a staple that I think you need to do in a Marvel game. It's something that hasn't been done before.
But we'll have the music we grew up with.
That's a big part of the game, how it comes alive, how you live with the character.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that and so now what we've done is crossed over into this sort of interdimensional space we call Limbo. So magic opens portals, you walk through Limbo, and you get to your next mission. And that's kind of one of her powers, and she can display this stuff in combat as well.
Awesome. So we're gonna just dive right into combat then.
Yes.
All right.
Just get in there, bro.
We are going to play some combat, and again, you know, we are a tactics team through and through.
It's interesting because, like, in XCOM, you have like the square system, like
designers, but
it's like a grid, and you got to pick wherever they went, and they would run to those points. But this seems kind of more freeform.
There's so much when it comes to the visual.
I doubt there's gonna be a lot of cover shooting in this though, so that's probably why they went with that.
Superhero flair that you're going to see. But first, we wanted to slow down before we start playing this thing fast.
Let's talk
about what the mechanics
Let's talk
are
about
right?
the abilities, right? Because, as you may have heard, the hero's abilities, they're dealt to you at the start.
They should just invited me in there. I would have done the stream for them.
Which
I'm holding a controller, they're gonna let me play this game. I start playing like, oh, okay, so this card thing happens. Oh, it seems like, oh, cool.
I assume. However, in case it is, I would understand why people would say, what? That's very different from anything we've done before. It doesn't actually, I want to make sure that people understand it doesn't play that different than things we've done before. But as Garth is playing, I'm going to explain how this whole system works. And the idea is that every character has their own abilities that the player is in charge of. So they can assign whatever abilities they want to Blade, to Doctor Strange,
just playing
to
the
the
trailer
Hunter.
for us right now.
They bring all those abilities into combat, and there aren't
what happened to them
many of
playing the game?
So you're going to see all those abilities come up
in front of us,
but they're dealt to you as a hand of cards.
And there's some really cool card categories too, right?
Yes. So there's 3 different types of abilities that are really important. There's an attack, which Garth just did there. One of the benefits of abilities, treating them as a card, is we can put like really interesting effects on them. So we have tons of them. Another benefit is we can make so many different abilities. We can give them interesting effects. One is an attack, which Garth showed off there with Blade. The next is a skill, which he just used with Doctor Strange. And that is the sort of thing that is a little more, could buff your allies, could be defensive. There are different ways to use it. But ultimately, the important thing is that by playing attacks, by playing skills, you're building up a resource that we call heroism. You can see this in the bottom right.
What's that?
Yeah, it's a simple, the game all rotates around heroism, right? And so you build up heroism and you use that to then use the third type of ability, which is called the heroic.
They are your most powerful attacks. They can have devastating impacts on the enemies, and that's what we're working towards right here. Now, I have a few other plays. Before I use Doctor Strange's heroic, I'm going to use one of the Hunter's attacks to build up more heroism, which will make the heroic stronger.
So right now, the Hunter's in a great position to fire off this ability. Yeah, knock an enemy into another enemy. But you can also discreetly move your characters around the battlefield, and you'll have to be able to use different abilities or different effects in the environment.
So
now we're going to trigger.
Oh no, you're fine. I was going to say, like, it seems like you have a lot of flexibility and freedom how you choose to play, like with your heroes.
Yeah, you do. I mean, the idea is that the game is meant to move pretty fast. It's still very deep. I love that ability.
Right.
He just
the abilities look cool.
By the way, he buried an axe in
the
and then they just knocked
gentle KO. Okay.
Knocked out. Right?
After a few hours.
Yeah.
It almost,
but also, I mean, you saw
and
that
I've barely seen the game. Almost
our
looks
team
less
and our content
tactical
team
than
and
XCOM
and
now.
all the disciplines that have worked on it.
Not that it needs to be like
It
the same
feels
kind of
like
game,
that.
but it feels like you're standing in an area and you're like deciding to attack people based off these cards, which is literally what's happening. But like, there doesn't seem like there's like a lot of environmental
There are a lot of deep elements to
aspects
combat
outside
here,
of
and
maybe
part of that
explosive
is
things
how
or
different
something.
the
Maybe
right?
it seems like some of these things are
we have
highlighted
a number of different
to
abilities
use.
here. And in fact, actually, Garth,
But it looks like a brawl.
Yeah,
we're going to use a
which looks
special
less
skill
like,
from
you
the
know,
hunter, which is going
a map you're
to
traversing and
chain
having to use
on
tactics
allow
and
us
stuff.
to use a very, very powerful card in our
Yeah,
deck. So
yeah. At first, I didn't think you could move the
allows you to
characters. It was like
play,
an old school RPG where you just kind of line up against each other and fire off abilities.
So
But
that's what we're going to do.
it looks like they kind of move around, but
Yeah, and so
I don't see why you would,
combo,
other than
again,
getting away from like a
big
melee
attack,
character.
The way that you unlock these abilities
Yeah, I'm not
is
sure.
actually through the Abbey. So we talk about how the relationships that you have with these heroes, and this is very awesome and very powerful. You unlock these super powerful attacks by forming a relationship with the heroes involved.
Last man standing.
Oh, here we go.
It's even like, it seems like when you click on a person, you just
So,
kind of
again, that's an encounter. You know, they play very, very fast.
choose your character, choose the ability, click on the character, and then they attack them.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like there's a whole lot else going on.
Hydra certainly lives up to their name.
And like the cards is really the big thing. Like, you know, do you have the cards to outplay their cards? But like, I don't know.
I live up to my name, too. Hell of a price Crossbones put on your head, Runt. Too bad he never said it had to stay attached to your body. Well, too bad
Bro,
for
trim
you.
those nails.
Big words for a dead man.
You got one thing right today, Sabretooth. Heads are definitely about to roll.
Oh, look. Another mangy stray.
Yeah, just do that next time.
Wrong.
Yeah, if I kick somebody over a building, fucking all day.
Yeah.
See if he shows up, be like, fuck, you just kick him.
Now I get to kill 2 Runts with 1 claw. Maybe I should be paying Hydra.
Hey guys, I would be lying if I would say I'm not excited about this very iconic duo,
Audio
this
setup is so
battle
bad.
between
The
Sabretooth
game's
and
so much
Wolverine.
quieter than they are.
Yeah, and as you saw there, just one of the cinematics. We have hours of cinematics in the game. Obviously, we're telling a very deep story, and part of
With a
that
deep
story, of course, is introducing.
Yeah, and then you're playing
these
Peggle
villains.
with
This is
them,
the first villain
which I mean is
we've
kind of
shown.
cool.
We have a large cast of
I like that you can
characters, not
direct
just
where they fly.
heroes. We've got, again, as I said, 12 Marvel heroes plus the Hunter. We also have a large cast of villains for the player to fight against. It's what makes Lilith so powerful. So again, she's the ultimate enemy. The thing that's cool about her, if you imagine the most dangerous people in the Marvel universe, she's equally dangerous because she can corrupt people with a single touch. So not only will you fight villains like Sabretooth here, but you'll fight what we call fallen, where Lilith has corrupted villains. She's
So the
corrupted
circle
even
seems like he's
heroes
almost like
that
chaining
player's
the
gonna have
attack
to
from
fight
there.
against,
Yeah,
over
it was
the course of
doing
the game. So yeah,
And
very deep narratives. A lot
targets or
of narrative comes out,
so
not
you
just through
choose one
cinematics, but
target
also
more
you'll
once.
experience in game as well.
There's some repositioning
And now
there,
we're
but
fighting against Sabretooth, and yes,
Yeah,
you're right.
so
This is an
environmental
iconic
attacks, which
matchup.
was,
Right?
that's actually
Wolverine,
the coolest thing
best
I've
at what
seen
he
so
does.
far.
Sabretooth,
yeah.
kind of good at what
I
he
like
does.
that there's more shit that went flying everywhere.
He's deadly.
You
like,
can move and kind of
Sabretooth is a
position
very
like you're
deadly
playing pool.
character.
This game's
and so you're gonna
pool
have to
and
require your
Peggle
entire team to take him
mixed
out.
into a
All of our
simplified
villains have
XCOM card
a
game.
bunch of unique abilities and also
seen
a
that
unique flair
98%
to them.
success rate
Sabretooth,
fail
the
yet,
idea
Yeah.
behind Sabretooth is that he
It's
has
not
an
XCOM
ability
2.
called Frenzy, and that means that every time you take an action, he may respond. Right, so you have to be really careful. You have to be very efficient. in
pulled
what you
that
do
down on his
because
head.
His
Sabretooth
gameplay
responds very
mechanic, it
quickly.
was
So you
cool.
can take 2 actions.
In my head, I was like, he just ran
fight
past
back.
Sabretooth.
So you have to like
Sabretooth's like, yeah, just go
anticipate
ahead.
when he goes on
Yeah,
that
and then
frenzy.
pulled up
Yeah.
and then light
Yeah.
fell onto his
For
head.
now.
And he turned around, he's like, ow.
But yeah, I mean, I love Sabretooth. We've introduced, here we're
The,
introducing
the
Wolverine for the
environment's
first
just
time.
neat.
This
It
is where you
feels
meet him.
comic
This is
booky. It feels
pretty far into
superhero-like.
the game, probably.
That's the thing too.
I mean,
I'm glad that they're leaning
actually,
into
this
the
game's
comic
very
book
long, so not
aspect
that
of
far,
this
but
game.
Yeah.
you get 10, 12 hours into the
I think
game.
most comic
when you
book
meet Wolverine
games,
and
if
you
they lean
unlock
more into the
him.
comic
So
and
there
less
are
into the
characters you
movies,
unlock
typically,
through play.
I appreciate
This
them
is the
more.
moment when you sort of meet Wolverine for the first time.
Like the
And
Batman
so again,
games. I mean, they were
Wolverine
based
is a
off the comics,
completely
not the
different play
fucking
style,
movies.
completely
sure.
unique
And
set
the
of
movies are,
abilities.
generally.
Can you go into his abilities a little bit more? Like what makes him so
actors in
unique and
something,
different
you want
from
it to
the
feel
other
more
characters?
grounded.
Yeah, so you think about Wolverine, it's he's very savage. He has the ability to attack multiple targets.
Well, I'm
so
glad
he
too
has
that
what we call
Marvel,
chains.
whoever's running
He has a
Marvel
lot
under
of ability
Disney
that
is
chains to
fucking
multiple
making the
targets.
decisions that their
And at the
games are
same
going to
time,
be
he can
not just
taunt
movie
enemies,
tie-ins,
and that means that he
but
can
also
draw
just
their
like,
fire. When
you
he
know, they have
attacks
a
them, then enemies
whole fucking
target
department of
Wolverine after
people
that.
who
And
make
that's great
comic
because
books. So
Wolverine has the ability to regenerate health. He's
why not
very
make games
low
based
on
off
health
that?
here. Garth, you doing okay, bud?
It's not
He's a little bit
dumb
dark. I'm
what
gonna
these
get some
characters are.
life steal on there if you want to mention that.
No, that's fine.
I believe in you, Garth. Like you can do this.
Fine. As you can see, Sabretooth, huge health bar.
Heavy hitter. Definitely heavy hitter.
Definitely a heavy hitter. And so that's good. Wolverine has got some life steal going on and sent that guy to the moon. But yeah, this is the problem with Sabretooth, right? Is that he just doesn't stop.
Sounds like
And
there's
this
a lot of
matches how
flying
he
around
is
hitting
in the
shit.
comics as well. Like Sabretooth
These guys
doesn't stop.
make a
you
fucking
know?
Dragon Ball Z game
So you
next.
have to always kind of be on your toes here.
Chala.
What are we doing, Garth?
Chala.
We got him.
We got him. Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm actually going to.
That'd be sick.
Position
Dude, I'd buy
yourself
the game
into
in
the
an instant.
environment.
If you could literally put Yamcha face
One thing
first
that's
in a
worth
fucking
pointing
bitch
out
just
is
in a
that
hole,
as you move,
I would
you
buy
can
that game.
continue to move until you use an ability, right? And so you can position yourself just perfectly. Until you use an ability, you can continue
Yeah,
to move.
the combat in this
And,
feels
you know, the movement balance
like
is
almost
one
like
of my
a
favorite parts as
if you were walking across like a
movement
world map in
by tactics,
RPG and you got into the
critical
fight.
it is. But it's
Because
this
you start in
wonderful
these like
balance
little
of
brawl areas
you can
and
choose
use
to
the
play more
environment. At
and
first I was
find
kind of
that
like,
single precise
because I'm thinking
movement to
XCOM, but at the
take
same time, I
advantage
think
of
it's
the
kind of a
enemy,
cool
but it's
spectacle.
not every single turn,
but
every single action you make.
I'm still just like not super in love with just getting into these fights and using cards.
Yeah.
The environment stuff I think is pretty neat.
Going.
Yeah, bro, you drunk. If I had fucking hair all over my head and face that like was just poking out in every direction, last thing I would do is shove some fucking kind of weird hat bandana thing on my head.
You'll do.
Drugs.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
True. Did we watch the whole thing?
All right, so we saw a lot of
it
good
looks like they show a little
gameplay,
bit
a lot
of
of good abilities, just like
Hogwarts shit.
amazing gameplay, of course. But this isn't just it, right, Garth? There's still a whole nother section to it.
There's a whole other section. It is enormous. It is incredibly exciting. Again, we love tactics games, and changing what we did with the tactics design there wasn't enough. We wanted a whole other half of the game that was the RPG part of the tactics RPG. So we're going back to the Abbey now, and we're going to show you guys a little bit of a gameplay tease with what you can do within the Abbey.
All
And we're
right.
going to start in the Hunter's Quarters.
All right, let's do it.
You can do an enormous amount. Obviously, after a hard day's work, you want to go back.
I like how so
to
far
your
their casual attire is just their normal costumes, but with slacks on.
Pants, dude. Wear a costume
And
with
look at this
pants on.
room. It looks like some decorating.
Some extra layers.
None of those were casual than slacks.
Yeah, you gotta update the room, and yeah, there's ways to update not just the character, the room as well. Here's your beloved,
Of course, Charlie.
right? Your beloved Hellhound Charlie, who loves you so much. You can, of course, pet the dog, and there's a lot of benefits to that as well.
Are we going to be able to explore that a little bit more?
We are, and in fact, what's happening right now is the hunter walking out of the common room after combat, and so
feels like.
again,
Feels
this
like
is
the
really a
character's not
social
moving, but the environment
experience
is.
where after combat, all these heroes are hanging
Yeah.
out,
That's
and you can
fucking weird.
choose from different heroes after
I mean,
combat to hang
it does
out
kind of
with.
look
This is an
like the
important
house
part
is
of
just
building.
moving.
Mm-hmm.
It
The
is.
character's
It's
just
one of my
standing
favorite
in
parts of the
this,
game.
like,
Not
same
only
point.
you have fun in combat, you
I'd
come
be
back, and
pissed
you have
if
a
they
very,
did
very
that.
important choice to make, which is a whole other part of the Marvel.
We don't know
fence,
how to make
right?
the
It's not
character
just
traverse the
battling
environments,
amongst these
just
heroes.
make the
It's who do you want to hang
environment
out with, Nico Morono or Iron Man? Right?
Yeah, and there's a
Just
lot
slide
of
the building
benefit
around.
to this, right? There's not just a narrative benefit as they commiserate over their terrible parents. hope my dad's not watching, because I can commiserate with him as well. But yeah, then in addition to hanging out with heroes, you obviously get to have a deeper experience talking to different characters around the Abbey. We're kind of alluding here, like your dialogue choices can affect the hunter balance as well.
I mean, it's an RPG. There's branching dialogue choices here.
Right.
You
I was
mentioned
gonna say,
the
I
light
hope
dark
choices
balance.
matter.
The
Hopefully it's not
role-playing
just
portion
like,
of how you want to craft
you
your
could talk
hunter
to
and their
Wolverine if
personalities
you
is
want.
incredibly compelling.
Comment on
And you'll be able to do that in
table
spades.
there.
In the
On
Abbey.
it.
Uh-oh, what are we doing here, Caroline? You love the dog?
I do.
You walk your dog?
I mean, it looks like it.
Dog can walk with you.
The dog's walking, leading me somewhere special. Okay, where are we going?
So, this is just one of the many.
I know it's alpha footage, but that dog's animation is awful.
Just slid through the stairs.
And you should.
And then
And this is a lot of really
it gets to a
interesting
destination and then it just
optional
like
content where the player
freezes.
can come out here, explore the grounds,
Just
uncover
like
a lot more narrative, a lot more gameplay, and so.
Chris just
again,
hates
I know I got a
it.
couple.
we wanted this to feel like
I got a couple
living
dogs
space,
here now. I
so
could
it's
lend you
not
to see
just
how
here
untrue
to
that statement
the
is.
exterior grounds as well. That feel,
You mean they don't slide through
supernatural,
stairs?
based
And
on our
again,
game.
While
you
you
think
They don't
of
slide
the
through
world
stairs,
place
and they
walking
sure
around
as hell
the
don't
world.
stand
Slides around
still.
you.
A series of menus in between missions, or a base that doesn't have a lot of content and substance to it. And the grounds really act as that, since they're overloaded with secrets and mysteries and deep, deep lore to learn more, even in other corners of Marvel that you may be surprised about, the background of the Hunter and Caretaker and other characters.
Right. And there's so much more that we would love to show
Let's
you.
keep going. Can we keep going?
And we will.
He tells
There's
us
so
in
much
the
more to
strength
show
of the
you.
animations in combat.
We
I
will
thought they were
very
great.
soon.
Yeah, for
All
sure.
right.
So
Yeah.
like,
All
I'm
right.
walking
Well,
around
there
like
you
this
have
is
it,
like
guys. We
it's
have a little bit of
fleshed out, but
gameplay, a
it's
little bit of
definitely like not
Abby,
something we
a lot of
typically do. So it
combat
seems like
that's
they didn't
coming
put
up
as
as
much work
well.
into it.
What's coming up, guys, in October, coming months?
A lot. So we want to dive deep on some of the characters, like start to show more about these characters, and then show more gameplay. You just hinted at it.
So those are
with
your
the
stuff they're
combat
planning on
and the
doing
action.
when it
We wanna
comes
show more of
to
that
advertising the game. So I'm gonna
Awesome.
call it.
Well,
I'm gonna
pretty-
mute this and put it on loop, and ask you guys, what do we think about the stuff we saw? And are you more interested, less interested? Anything stand out to you? Anything not? Anything look bad, like dogs clipping through stairs or characters letting the world slide around them?
I mean, realistically, the thing I guess I want to put out there is with the weird like movement and stuff like that. Those things don't actually really matter all that much to me.
It's not a game breaker for me at all.
It's just more of a humorous observation. As far as like the gameplay goes, it did have good animations in combat. The environmental stuff was cool. The fact that when they kicked the dumpster, there was debris all over the ground was pretty neat. There's a lot of detail there. Still kind of in the same boat as far as like interest in playing it, but I do, I am open to the idea that this game comes out and everyone just raves about it, and maybe I'll be incentivized to actually try it, and maybe I'll like it. So.
Yeah, Chris.
The combat seems basic, and they keep touting how they're a tactical team, they're a tactical game building team, and it doesn't feel super tactical outside of the fact of pushing enemies into obstacles or obstacles into enemies. And that's about as tactical as it felt. And well, it's cool like you can kick the dumpster and the debris flies out. I appreciate that aspect. It seemed like everything you touched exploded into particles everywhere, and it felt a little bit too much. Like from my experience reading the comic books, like every now and then they thwack each other across the street and shit flies around, but it doesn't happen non-stop. So it seems a little bit much, and then just I don't know, it just feels lower quality than what I was expecting from a Marvel game, to be honest.
One thing I would, I guess, offer in the sense of like the simplicity of the combat, and it's only what we've seen so far, so there could be way more to it. It's a Disney property, it's a Marvel property. Firaxis has a pedigree in making games like this, but I'm sure somewhere in that agreement of them getting to make this game, it had to be accessible. Because I'm sure they don't want a Marvel fan from the movies or the comics who doesn't play strategy games to look at this game and go, well, I'm not going to play that. It looks too complicated. It looks like Civ or fucking, some kind of, total war game or something like that. So they probably made a system that offers some randomness to it. You only have so many choices with your cards, and then the combat is like, who do you want to attack? This guy, and then you get a cool visceral animation and shit explode and stuff like that. It's something that gives you instant feedback. I kind of looking at it. I'm sure there is going to be complexity to it for somebody who's really fucking into it, really into strategy. But I do feel like this is going to feel like a much more casual experience than like XCOM 2, or Wasteland or something like that. It does look like it's just going to be like kind of a fun Marvel experience in a turn based style RPG. So
most things feel more casual than XCOM 2, but yeah.
Sure. But they made that, and so they're making this, and when Kris is like, oh, it looks kind of simple, whatever. I mean, I kind of agree. Like, I said that early on, but then I started looking at other things. I'm like, it's starting to kind of make sense, starting to click a little bit here. But at the same time, I do think it is. I don't think you're gonna get the same kind of deep tactical experience of like suppression fire and stuff like that in this game, because I think it is being made for, of course, because Firaxis is making it for people who are in strategy games, but I think it's also being made for somebody who just wants to see Marvel characters they know and love kick other things asses and send them through fucking dumpsters and shit. So
it's also got to function with a team of 3 at all times versus a lot of tactical games you build essentially a small army.
Yeah.
So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Anything else, Kris?
The only thing I liked was really appreciated was them staying somewhat true to the character designs as far as outfits from the comic books. Like, it's not 100% there, but there's definitely homages to that, and they're not, trying to go for extreme realism, which I appreciate.
Yeah, it definitely is more comic book centric than movies or realistic looking. Everyone's, cartoony looking, and, Sabretooth's eyes are pure white and all that shit. So they're, he's huge, and his proportions are very like, big and werewolf looking and shit. So
the comic book feel is definitely the strongest point.
Yeah,
I think so.
Yeah, if it was based off the movies, it would be pretty hard for me to have too much interest in this, just because, that doesn't really do much for me. Yeah, slowly it's kind of grown on me. I mean, I'm still sold by the idea of Firaxis making it. I like everything they've made pretty much. The subject matter still doesn't do much for me. The combat at first when I saw it, I was kind of picking apart. I was like, it doesn't seem like it has much tactics going on. It seems like it's kind of a brawl and an environmental thing. Like, it didn't have the same kind of environmental tactics you could do. But then as I saw more, it does still feel like it's just kind of like a brawl RPG, almost like, my team's over here, your team's over there, fucking start hitting them, do your moves and shit like that. But then the moves where you're like actually moving into position and aiming environmental things to send a dumpster into 3 people, and actually seeing where the trajectory is going to lead them to kind of chain things up, I think adds some creativity to the combat that is what I wanted to see. So I liked seeing that. That was pretty fun looking as a gameplay element, and visually I thought it looked good. I thought the dumpster ripping up the ground and sending fucking paper and shit all over the place was cool looking. It does seem like almost every other move is throwing somebody into shit, which is kind of interesting. I feel like that should maybe be toned down a bit. Like, I don't think every time you get hit or they get hit, they should go flying into trucks and shit. But that way, when it does happen, you're like, holy fuck, that was crazy. But when it's like every move, it's kind of weird. But yeah, I think the environmental stuff's kind of cool, actually. It does seem kind of like, after a while, you're gonna know, like, well, the dumpster does this, those fucking cylinders in the back do that, and the you're gonna get used to everything you see. But with different environments, hopefully they have different things to use, so that'll be cool. Card system still I'm not like sold on. Like, I was watching the gameplay, I'm like, why wouldn't you just have your abilities to use? But it gives you that random element, so I'm sure deck building, which will be fun for people. But yeah, it doesn't do much for me, but maybe it's awesome. And yeah, I think it's good and clean looking. It's a tactical game, so the graphics are going to be crazy high. It's not Baldur's Gate 3. But animations are good in combat. Outside of combat, not so much. And I can appreciate what they're trying to do with like the Fire Emblem style like social stuff. I think it's cool. Hopefully it has big ramifications or um, hopefully there's big effects to the way you talk with characters and how that affects your character or at least things in the story. That would be worth it to me. Just talking to the characters without any kind of benefit. If I was a big fan of the material, I'd be in heaven. Not so that won't be a big thing for me unless I get something for it. You gotta give me something. Otherwise, you're wasting my time. Yeah, overall, I came out of this positive. I'm not like super blown away by it, but it looks fun. It looks like a fun game. Looks a little simple. Could be wrong, but I'll keep my eye on it, and hopefully, when it comes out, it gets good reviews. Because this isn't like in my brain, this isn't a day one buy for me yet, but this is a strong curiosity that I hope turns into something I'm really excited for. Plus, this is alpha gameplay, so hopefully improves quite a bit, but I have a stinking suspicion this is probably what the game's going to look like. So, anything else? Anything else, Chris? All right, let us know in the comments. What do you think about the two videos we watched? Marvel's Midnight Suns. What do you think about the gameplay we watched? The Hunter and Wolverine versus Sabretooth gameplay. Anything about you really like? Anything you don't like? Anything you're kind of curious about? Anything you're a little apprehensive about? Anything about the combat, like the environmental stuff you kind of dug? Or are you not into it? Are you a fan of XCOM? Are you coming into this game from there, or have you not really played games like that and you're interested? Let me know everything you're thinking about in the comments below when it comes to Marvel's Midnight Suns. I'm not going to remember that name. I don't know why. It's that time again where we go over episodes we've done in the past and we read your comments. If you want your comment read, type in hashtag AskTLG and it will be read. Otherwise, I pick at random. So yeah, we had a couple episodes out, but there was two that got some pretty good comments, so I wanted to prioritize those. So if your comment doesn't get read, hashtag AskTLG. So we reviewed Plants vs. Zombies, Battle for Neighborville, Tennis World Tour 2, and Hunter's Arena Legends on Plus Club for August. So make sure to go check that out. Really good conversation over on Reddit, and if you subscribe from there, welcome to the channel. We got a couple comments on that though. First one is from Psycho Scream saying, "I really liked Plants vs. Zombies. Played a PvP match in quotes in the hub, and it was really fun." Hey, we did that too. Didn't play any co-op in it. That's a shame. We should try and play that sometime because the co-op is a lot of fun, way more fun than it should be. And yeah, I mean, we did the hub PvP as well for like an hour or two. So it's easy just to kind of wander down there and go, "Oh, I've been shooting people for hours because I got bloodlust because they wronged me, and I can't let that go." That's where my brain was at least. But I'm glad you liked that. And one thing I want to shout out too is on Reddit, multiple people, as the thread had existed for a couple days, came back and they told me that they had no interest in any of the games for PlayStation Plus this month, but all the positivity, including mine, what I said about it, but other people saying they liked the game. They tried Plants vs. Zombies and they all liked it.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I heard that.
Nice.
I'm like, that's awesome. I'm like, even if they didn't like it, I thought it was cool that they read that and they're like, I want to check it out now.
For sure.
So, because we even kind of mentioned that, like, for some of us, it's not really a game that we would normally play.
Yeah, I had like no eye on it at all. So
yeah. So I thought that was really neat. Anything you guys want to throw in there when it comes to Psycho liking Plants vs. Zombies and PvP matches in the hub?
I mean,
no co-op?
I mean, besides the fact that we play with co-op, I mean, I agree the combat in the game feels good. The classes are unique and they feel really good too. And there's enough difference that you can actually have like favorites and non-favorites. They don't all feel like cookie cutters of each other, even though there are similarities, which is nice. But also, as we found out with like the satellite zombie versus the tree trunk acorn, person, they have some thematic similarities, but they also have very different movesets.
Yep.
So very cool.
Yeah, I've talked to a couple people who kind of kept talking about like their mirror version on, and I'm like, some of them are kind of mirrored, but some of them are very different. Like there's some real diversity in characters.
Well, even with the healer, right? So like the sunflower has it's like a lock-on heal that you just cast on a person versus the zombie doctor or whatever is a tonal spray. So you're not
Yeah.
locking on. You have to like shotgun it at people.
Yeah.
So it is
Pretty
different.
different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, it's fun. I have it installed still in case we can get a night together. Obviously, like, that comes down to multiple people's schedules at that point and interest at that point in time. But we should definitely do it.
I'm on vacation, bro.
Bruh.
Let's do it. Kris, anything?
No, I agree with what you said. I just say if you want to play some PvE, let me know. When I got some free time, I'll hop on there with you. No problem.
Ooh, update. I actually played the actual PvP. It's a lot of fun. You play it, and every map has like a different scenario. One, it's like one team's defending as the other team is sending in two of their like big boss guys, and they're just kind of wandering at the side, and the other team's trying to stop them.
Okay.
And then another one was Overwatch. You had to escort a thing through a map. And then another one was Battlefield, and there was a couple different ones. It had a cool variety. And then there is a like Battlefield mode where it has like a huge map that you're literally fighting for Neighborville, which I thought was kind of cool, but a little overwhelming. But was glad to see the PvP was a lot of fun, because I guess that's like the point of the game is the PvP, and we play the PvE, and I'm like, this is the game. And I play the PvP.
They put enough of it there, so
it's just kind of cool because like in the PvP, the plant side can plant plants on the map in random places. Any
the flower pots.
Yeah, the flower pots. You can plant towers there, but then the zombie side, you can summon zombies out of the ground as mobs.
Oh, interesting.
And so that one character I unlocked, that Kris was alluding to it. He's like reading it. He thought it sounded like, you use the swarm as a thing. He was right. It's more for PvP than PvE. In PvP, those guys are all over the place. You can bring out a bunch of zombies and you use them as that character. So that character is way more of like a PvP character than a PvE character.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So it's kind of cool. And people play like fucking... People are into that game in the PvP. They're fucking playing to win, dude. I would like to play with some people I can coordinate with, because a lot of people are just kind of wandering different directions, going like, this is a fun plant game, right? And they just get shot in the head and drop. And like, holy shit, this is real war. And I was like, I gotta flank these guys. They're just murdering us. Anyway, anything else, Kris?
No.
All right. Thank you for the comment, Psycho. And then we got Pandora's Tomorrow saying, I love this idea of a book club for games. Me and some coworkers tried this at my job for a while, but were unsuccessful. The format and video capture of the games you guys played really brings this whole presentation together. Thank you so much. I'm glad you enjoy it. Out of all the shows that I've made for this channel, this is the one that I've always like really kind of believed in. So I'm always really happy that people enjoy it. And it's cool to hear that you and your coworkers were like trying to have kind of a gaming book club at work or wherever you're doing it. I can see it being unsuccessful because it's hard to coordinate people to do stuff in a lot of ways. Luckily, I have two people who will suffer through this at least once a week. So it's been easy to coordinate in that way. A lot of people wouldn't do that. So it's you got to find the right people. But yeah, thank you. I'm glad you enjoy it, and hopefully you enjoy the next Plus Clubs and the other stuff we put out. I'm glad you like the video capture, because I've been over time struggling with how I wanted to do that, and I think I got to a point where I really like the way we do it. So thank you for the comment, Pandora's Tomorrow. And then the last comment we got, unless you guys have anything to add to that, I feel like I kind of spoke for you guys.
I mean, you said it. Thank you. Like, it is, I have zero creative, involvement, and I just show up and film, but it is still,
you guys bring the conversation.
Yeah, something we do.
Kris brings the good looks
week after week. Well, in this case, month after month, and we wouldn't do it if we weren't enjoying it. So,
oh, dude, if I was bored, this would have ended a while ago. Yeah, like it was fun for a second, but I got better shit I can be doing. Yeah. Okay, and then next comment is Touch of Madness saying Plants vs. Zombies is basically just reskinned Battleborn. I continued this, going, I played Battleborn only when it came out, and I don't remember PvE questing. Did they add that later? He says they had solo group PvE questing, but no one really ever gave it a shot. Everyone just jumped on the PvP as it released. Plus the fact that Battleborn is what Gearbox used the Aliens money to make it didn't sit well with some. Do you guys remember Battleborn? And do you remember PvE in it?
I have a copy sitting in my room somewhere.
We should boot that fucker up, dude.
I don't think the servers exist
Throw
anymore.
in the CD-ROM.
I don't recall that either, and I did give the game a pretty honest shot, I felt. So
I thought it was like a bot mode or something. I don't remember like a PvE, especially like Plants vs Zombies.
I don't either, and then this it could just be a memory fault, obviously. But I remember it being pretty much a hero shooter that leaned really heavy into MOBA style ideas.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because people always say it was Overwatch because they're coming out around the same time. Like Battleborn's pretty different. It's just a hero.
very MOBA feeling.
Yeah, it like gameplay wise, it didn't feel like Overwatch, but it just had heroes, and everybody acts like Overwatch created that. It popularized it.
Blizzard creates everything.
But I mean, Team Fortress 2 has been around forever. And for you motherfuckers out there thinking that goddamn Call of Duty didn't do it first, Black Ops 3 came out 6 months before Overwatch, so I had that argument already. That's a hero shooter.
Did this.
I've done did this. Kris, did you play Battleborn, and do you remember PvE?
I did play a little bit of Battleborn. I don't know how I played it because I don't own a copy of it. Probably played it through Chevy.
Bro, they sold that shit for like 10 cents at one point.
Yeah.
So maybe someone gave it to you.
Possible. But it felt like a hero shooter to me with, like you said, MOBA aspects to it. So, I mean, hero shooters are going to feel somewhat similar in the fact that you have characters that all have unique abilities to their heroes. So,
yeah.
But I don't recall a PvE mode. I recall trying to play a game on a dead server, just kind of by myself, running around a map.
Yeah,
that was the MOBA map.
Fast. After a month, it was over.
Yeah,
the game should have been free to play, but they made a premium game, so it's kind of hard to swallow that pill. It's gonna be really bad when I like Google Battleborn PvE and he's 100% correct and just had like a whole mode, and all of us are just like, but I don't remember that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they're wrong.
It might be like
I just don't remember
the taste of that game. We were just like, whew, I need to get that out. I don't remember that ever again.
For a few, I'd say a couple weeks. I definitely gave it a shot.
It had cool characters. I just didn't like the gameplay. But I had to accept it after a while that I didn't enjoy playing Overwatch anymore, just because there was nothing I was getting that I was excited about. Gameplay was tight.
Yeah, the game lasted about 2 days for me.
Yeah,
but then there was nothing to work.
Back then, I thought I was like kind of like crazy with Battleborn, because I was like, I kind of enjoy playing it, but I don't really want to play this. I was like, I'll just play Overwatch, and then I didn't play Overwatch either. So I'm like, these games just aren't meant for me. So.
Right.
Yeah. Anything else?
No.
All right. Well, thank you everybody who commented on that episode. Moving on to the next one, we reviewed Cyberpunk 2077. It's a long episode. We talked about it for almost 2 hours. So go check that out if you want to know our in-depth thoughts on it. And if you'd like to see us do a spoiler talk, let me know. I still think I want to do it at some point. I would just like to see if somebody else will beat the game to get more people in that conversation. And yeah, we got some comments to read, so I'm gonna read those. First off, we got somebody Game of the Month voting for Darkwood. So if you guys want to play Darkwood, vote for it. And if you don't want Darkwood, vote against it. GOTM in the game you want. Thank you, Stan Dem, for voting. Let's see, we got how do I read that? Jiri Augustine, saying about the PS4 issues. It is important to point out that someone in Sony had to playtest the game and okay the game, which they did for some reason. So Sony either did not do their work or they didn't care, given their track record, quite likely. So they should be blamed for these issues as well. I actually thought this was a really fair point and something that I don't see a whole lot of people talking about. It is crazy to think that Sony would have not known the state of the game and allowed it to be on their store. So I do think it's a really good point that when everybody's trashing CD Projekt Red for whatever reason, you also have to look, even though when Sony took the game off because they're like, we're not dealing with this shit, they fucking knew. They had to have known. Yeah. So, and it's too late now. I'm not here to point fingers, but I think it's a very fair point that Sony's complicit in the release, just like fucking Xbox was. I mean, people knew that this shit wasn't running well.
I think this is a pretty simple thing to explain in my eyes, at least. As much as I love the PlayStation brand and what Sony has been doing with their products as a whole company as of the last few years, I do also understand that they're hardcore fans the same way you're hardcore Nintendo fans and all that other stuff. Will defend them regardless of faults. And so when this problem came up, even if you were to present that to them, it would have still been CD Projekt Red because Sony could not be at fault. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
Which is unfortunate, but it's the reality of I hate to use the term, but fanboying.
Sure. So. And it also just points out that whenever I've talked about the situation, I always try to emphasize that the situation is a mess.
Yeah.
There's so many different things wrong that it's not like there's a clear thing to point at outside, I think, of higher ups at the companies that forced this decision. But
bad decision.
Sony's another layer of the problem. Sony allowed this, and so did Microsoft. So the whole thing was a fucking mess. It was a sloppy release on a game that was gonna make a lot of money.
Yeah, it is strange because console games do have to go through the certification process. So,
yeah, they didn't just get the game and go, okay, we'll upload it, whatever. Yeah. Like somebody had to have fucking looked at it.
It's not like Steam, where Steam's like, I don't care, I get a cut.
Unless the person who checked it out might have been on like a PlayStation 4 Pro or a fucking PS5. Like, it was fun. It's got a couple bugs or whatever, and then the PS4 version's all completely fucked. So
that's a fair point.
I read that. I was like, no, that's a great point. Like, it's not just CD Projekt Red at fault with this. So, but I also don't want to dwell too much because I'm past that. But,
yeah, for sure.
Kris, any thoughts?
I mean, like you said, it's an excellent point to bring up, and Sony does have this very strict certification process. I mean, if you look at games like Warframe, the only reason they didn't have crossplay for so long on Warframe is because they had so many updates for the PC version constantly coming out, and they had to. Sony wouldn't let them do that without certifying it through this hard, rigorous process. And then for them just to release Cyberpunk like this, like it was at that state it was in, all it does to me is scream that they were banking on making a lot of money off the hype of the game, and not really extremely concerned about how it was at launch. They always had to have some concern because they couldn't just make a game that didn't launch or didn't play, but it was supposedly a massive disaster. I can't tell you from personal experience because I didn't play it on a console when it launched, but it just screams to me like they were trying to make as much money off of it as possible because of the hype. So they kind of pushed out a bad product, and Sony is just as much to blame as anybody else is.
All those pre-orders they had, like, they were probably like, get this fucker out there, dude, sell it. Like, we made so much money already.
Yeah.
And then as soon as people are like, we want our money back, Sony's like, fuck, take it off until they fix it.
Yeah.
We can't be refunding this game. We don't want to do that. Blah, 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 blah. The whole thing was a fucking mess. But yeah, there's other people involved with this. The people who allowed access through their stores to a game that they most likely knew had issues. So yeah,
they had to have known. They couldn't. They're not going to put something like up on their game stores without knowing if it's a functioning game or not.
Especially if you see the footage from the PS4 version, base console version, there's no way they didn't run into something. The whole thing was something. Yeah. Like, whole parts of the city weren't even loading in and shit. Like, it was pretty bad. So anyway, anything else, Kris?
No, just excellent point to bring up.
Yeah, great point. Thank you, Jiri Augustin. We got a comment from Sarah, who was on the episode, her first time on the show. She said a lot, so check out the episode. She wanted to say more, So we got a comment from her that says, I think that giving players the feeling of making choices in a linear story is not always an illusion and not always done poorly. There's a difference between having 3 dialogue options, and no matter what you choose, the NPC responds with the same exact line of text. That's bad storytelling. Then there's good storytelling where you weave a layered and nuanced story in such a way that the player chooses how it unfolds and how much they invest in it. But the story is ultimately the story. No matter which thread you follow, you uncover details and can follow every thread or just a couple, and it still follows the same narrative. It's how you invest someone in the story you're telling. I think CD Projekt Red did a great job of balancing a cinematic story-driven game and an open world in a city with its own story. And if it's leaned more one way or the other, you would lose out on one of those things. Sure, Night City isn't a sandbox, but it's one of the carefully crafted characters in this game. I think this is in reply to someone else's comment. But what did you guys think? How do you think of? I mean, anything she said you want to respond to directly, but also how do you think of how they did storytelling in the game so far? I know none of you have beaten it, right? You didn't beat it, Kris?
Not yet, but I'm close.
How do you think that they do it? Is there real choices or is it an illusion? Do you like the choices? Do you think it weaves into the story well?
What do we mean by real choices, though? Because, like, how many games do you play where the ending of the game isn't the end of the game? Like, so
I think she's talking about in the sense of, like, when you are talking with people and making your decisions in the dialogue and the choices and what you do in the game, that there is going to be different outcomes and not the same outcome at the end, but dialogue choices. Because there's a lot of games out there that will, like, there's a dialogue and every once in a while it's like, do you want to say this or this? And they'll reply to that part, but then it just carries on no matter what, the same.
Oh yeah,
sure. A lot of games.
14 does.
A lot of games do that,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But then some games will actually, like a game like Mass Effect or something, will actually allow you to get to a point where you're punching the reporter in the face or you're not.
Right. So I mean, I think that Cyberpunk does it pretty much on par with what I would expect from Mass Effect.
Yeah.
Which is like certain things you say will give you a either non-existent, a positive, or a negative reaction out of the character, which might affect their micro story in the grand picture of the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And they may end up, just all of a sudden you're done talking to them at that point, or maybe they carry on to the end of the game. But so I do think that's there. So I mean, yeah, I agree with that aspect. I do think as far as like what that does add, I do think that giving people, even if it is just dialogue, it is your version of the story at that point, because you still have to make an emotional, it doesn't have to be heavy emotional, but you do make an emotional investment in your decision at that point. Like, how do I want to respond here? Regardless of if the outcome is the same, the flavor is different for each person. So
I mean, even the romances in the game, I believe you can avoid them.
Yeah.
Because in a lot of the situations where it seemed like I could get romantic with somebody, there's other dialogue options that had nothing to do with it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, and stuff like that, I mean, it just, it adds depth. And, and it is good for role-playing games, I think, for sure.
So to her whole point, though, would you say that's not illusion and choice then?
I honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
The I guess the phrasing doesn't really click in my brain.
Gotcha. Kris, any thoughts?
But when you're playing games like this that have a storyline they're trying to convey, the illusion of choice is always going to be there, because it's more engaging for you as a player to get involved in the story by giving you the choices to make you seem like you're making hard decisions, when the ending, however the winding path you get there or not varies, is going to be the same, because they want that story to be told that way. They're trying to convey that message to you. It's not a choose your own adventure storybook. It's this is the story they have laid out, and they want you to experience that. Now, like I said, you can wind your way through that story in various different means by going through different dialogue options and choosing whether or not to help certain people out, not to help certain random people out, and whatnot. But at the end of the day, that path, regardless of how windy it is or how straight you take it, is going to lead to the same conclusion. That doesn't make it a bad game, and that doesn't make the illusion of choice any less important, because you're making the choice to either go through those side paths and experience a deeper, wider, maybe more, wacky side of the game, or to stick to the story that they're trying to tell. I don't think it's a bad. I think it's done very well in Cyberpunk. There are games where like you said, you can choose like one of two options, and it's always the same outcome, and it doesn't feel like you've made any difference. But I didn't experience that at all playing this game. I felt like every choice, regardless of how big or small I've made in dialogue options, had enlightened me deeper into the story of how I wanted to experience it in Cyberpunk.
Yeah, and Cyberpunk has multiple endings too, different endings that you can get based off decisions, and in my opinion, investment in the game I think is a bigger part of the endings of the game. But there are some choices that are involved in getting those endings. So in that sense, I don't think there is an illusion there, because you are getting different outcomes based off choices. So there is different paths to take. I don't think it has the most advanced choice system that I've seen in a game, but it does have choice, and there is different ways to go about things. And I've already talked multiple times about missions I've done that went very differently for me than other people, which is something I love in games that do have choice, real choice, not just like, oh, did you do the good or bad thing? Did you punch them or did you just walk away? Which is still cool, but like, how many times are you going to have the same story someone else or just go like, you probably did that, huh? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, yeah, okay. I know what happens there. So, with Cyberpunk, there is some things that feel like, oh, this is what I did. This is what they did. But then also there's other things I'm like, of course, everybody just fucking, if they got the romance option with a character, they just did it, because people are going to be like, oh, I wonder if they fuck. We'll see what happens. So there's the choice though, but you can still kind of predict where they're going to go with it. But yeah, outside of that, I do think Cyberpunk allows choice, not as much as I would like, but it's there for sure. So yeah, anything else?
I don't think so.
It's an interesting topic, and something that definitely exists in games. There's definitely different layers of what choice is in games, and a lot of games have shallow choice to actually no choice. So it's an interesting thing to talk about, and I'm glad CD Projekt Red could make a game that does have some choices involved in it. And yeah, thank you for the comment, Sarah. And moving to the next comment, we got Unknown Exo saying, personally, I experience way less problems on PlayStation 4 compared to the PC users. Continued, he says, or they say, all the streamers with their 10K PC showing way more broken bugs than my PlayStation 4. I said, very interesting. I have it on PS4 and thought about trying it on there to see the state of it. That's true. I've thought about doing that, but I also don't know if I want to subject myself to that. Any thoughts on that? It plays better on PlayStation 4 than PC. 10K rigs. Maybe they got 10K rigs that have the same problem as Kris when it comes to the wire thing. Maybe they're getting the same crash, and if they are, I feel bad for them. Sorry.
I think there's a lot of weird phrasing here. I can't really make comparisons to PS4 version. I didn't play it on there. Mm-hmm. I barely even saw footage of it, to be honest.
It's fucking...
and I've heard nothing but negative things, but it's difficult for me because the first part says compared to the PC users, which comes off as all PC users, and I'm here to tell you that I had virtually no problems even at launch. I had a couple, but not that many. And then all the streamers with their 10K PCs, I want to know what they're spending $10,000 on.
That's that's a pricey ass PC.
So,
yeah, overkill.
I mean, your experience is your experience. I'm glad you had a good experience with PS4
for sure.
So.
Yeah. Also, if you have like any videos that you could like link in that comment, I don't know if you're still here or not. I don't know if you're passing by or what, but if you're in this community, awesome. But if there's any videos you want to share, definitely let me know, because I'd like to see that, because it just seems like it's been widely known that the PS4 version of the game, at least at launch, was like a mess, and on PC it seemed to be the least amount of problems, even though they all had problems. So
For sure.
when I say very interesting, I legit mean that. Like that perspective is an interesting perspective. I'd like to look into it further. I'd also like to try the game on PS4. I kind of want to stream that because, just to kind of experience it and let people see the experience on PS4 as well. Because even though I have a Pro, I wish I had a fucking base. Do you have one? Do you have a Pro?
Pretty sure I have a base. I don't know where it is.
Like the original one, because I want to play it on that. That'd be a lot of fun to stream that. But yeah, very interesting. I don't have a frame of reference on that viewpoint, but I definitely would like to know more about it. Kris, anything you want to add to that?
I don't have a frame of reference for how it plays on PS4, but I did just build a, I guess, fairly decent gaming rig. I mean, I spent about $3,000 on it, so it's decent. I didn't spend $10K. I can't imagine what I would spend $10K on a gaming PC for. But
a huge fucking curved around your head monitor.
You could dump money into multiple monitors pretty easily, but you would still need a lot of monitors.
That's still the monitor isn't really affecting the game though.
Yeah,
a really nice mouse and a really nice keyboard and some sick speakers.
I got a gold-plated computer case. Okay,
it's pretty sick.
You can spend a lot on audio. That would be pretty easy, I think.
True, that's true.
Oh, audio,
but
expensive real fast.
Like I said at the top of the episode, like I only experienced one like game-breaking bug, and it was only because of one thing that was, I didn't really use much anyway. So it's going to be different because PCs are so modular that everybody's going to have different issues with different things and different setups. I'd like to see. I'd be interested to see the footage you have as well. I mean, I'll try to record some footage from my, new rig and throw it up to you guys to see what you think of it if you'd like too.
Yeah, the tricky part with your perspective too is you've only played 1.3, so
right.
Yeah, you don't know where it's come from. Like those bugs are nothing compared to where some of that shit was at. I remember when the game first came out, I was in an early Act 1 mission and I got sucked into a wall and I couldn't get out of it. And I was like, okay. And like Cody was saying, like he was driving a car and the cars would fucking flying. Every once in a while he'd be running through the city and cars would be just flying. Like not flying, but like getting hurled in the air and landing and hitting shit. Like,
fortunately, I didn't experience anything like that ever.
And he's just like, it's funny, dude. I'm like, yeah, it shouldn't be happening though, man. Like, that shouldn't be a fucking thing.
Yeah, the worst one I ever ran into is someone just literally wouldn't talk to me, so I couldn't turn my quest in.
Yeah, and this time around, 1.3, the biggest problem I had was Takamura wouldn't call me. In 24 hours, I reload the game and called me. So yeah, it was an easy fix, luckily. Would have been devastating if fucking just broke the game. Be like, well, I'm done, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, relatively low bugs on my end too with 1.3 for sure. And even when I originally played it outside getting sucked in a wall, and kids running through walls, that was creepy. I would just be running down the hall and these kids just be running, and they would just like I was chasing them to see where they're going. I was like, oh, this is crazy. Like, where do these kids go? And the kids just like ran down the hall and went through the wall and disappeared. And I was like, were those ghosts? That's fucking spooky. They went to the Phantom Zone.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else, Kris?
No.
Yeah. Definitely would like to see that footage though for sure. Or if you have any streamers or whatever you'd like to let us know, I'd be curious. Thank you for the comment though, Unknown XO. Then we also got another vote for Game of the Month, Hunt Showdown from Nick Raintree. My boy is goddamn voting Hunt Showdown. Hope you win. Hope anyone wins. Everyone should vote. But that's a good one. That's a good vote. Thank you for that vote. And then we got the final comment, which is a big one.
This is not a comment. This is a book.
We got a book from Simon, Writer's Block Randall. Maybe we should do it in segments. We'll see.
Where was the writer's block?
Yeah. There's no writer's block
You're
here.
lying to us.
No writer's block here. Starting off, it says, I used to like bash Doug Cockle's voice acting for Geralt of Rivia because he was this mixed bag of fucking nailed that line and is he asleep. I was crying him back listening to whoever voiced Male V. Yeah, no, I'll just respond to that part exactly. It's funny because like Geralt, I remember playing those games and I was like, half the time I was like, man, this guy sounds just kind of like monotone, and it kind of goes with the character. But then sometimes he sounds good, so I completely agree. But I also agree about the V thing. And then yes, thank you, Seth. Male V, oh my god, I can't talk. Male V flirting includes, but isn't limited to creepy, desperate, and just thirsty. I was talking to Panam in that scene where you're like having drinks in a pub, and some of his lines were like, if I was a woman receiving that, I'd stand up and walk away in a haste. That motherfucker's going to kidnap me. It's worse than Mass Effect. Shepard used to creep me out with that, come on, Miranda, you want this kind of shit. But cringeworthy as it was, it sounded like something Shepard would say. Always trying to be in control, even toned, whatever. It's creepy, but it's Shepardly. Male V just sounds like an aspiring sex offender. I like female V though. Shirami Lee did a great job. I guess chicks aren't that prone to sound creepy anyways, just came off more naturally female. Bit of an edge here and there, but I liked it. So on that point, thoughts?
I mean, I didn't play Male V, so I have no idea. I also, I did think Shepard was odd, but I also think it was kind of a product of its time as well.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. But yeah, he always seemed kind of fucking robotic to me and creepy.
Yeah.
And the romance was just so fucking cringy. But
the romance was not very natural feeling for sure.
But revolutionary for its time.
For sure. And then yeah, I play as female V, and so far I've enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, I've heard decent things about female V. I've heard a couple criticisms, but male V, I haven't heard anyone defend male V. So yeah, Kris, anything to add to that part?
I made male V, and he definitely comes off as like a frat bro at times, and it's very just kind of like, ugh,
He's
what
so
did you just say that for?
Like sometimes he still sounds like this gritty, I've been through it guy, and then he kind of has like this weird New York thing going on, but he's not. And then like sometimes he'll have like a serious line that I'm like, okay, but then like the next line is like tonally different. He's like yelling, he's like, yeah, fuck yeah, and like I'm like, whoever like was the director of voice acting was just like, yeah, fuck it, throw that in there.
Yeah, when I was talking about my experiences, and like there's that one moment where I felt like the game was like talking to me and like made this weird deep connection with me. His tone was just very much like kind of soft spoken and like kind of vulnerable. And then as soon as that scene ended, he was back to being just like this frat bro, just like out of nowhere. It's like a complete shift of tone and voice. It was very jarring.
Yeah, without going into it at all, but during the end of the game, there's a lot of dialogue in my ending, and I liked all of it. I was like, this is cool, man. I like this. This works really well. But then there's other parts where like he's sitting in a car and he's just like, yeah, we gotta go fuck him up, eh? And then he's like, yeah, he's like starts screaming and shit. And he's like, and then he goes,
Randy Savage.
and then he goes back to this like, hey, just like kind of like that. Like I'm like, fuck, why is this guy nuts? Like he's fucking insane. Yeah, it's my biggest complaint about that game, including any bug I've ever ran into, is that the dude playing male V probably could have done a good job, because he does sometimes, but then other times it's like really fucking bad. You're like, what the hell's going on? It's weird. So yeah. Yeah, I'm glad you played male V, because when we talked about this before, they had both played female V, so I'm just like, I'm fucking alone here, dude. Like, I don't even know where to start. All right, continuing on, this book we've gotten from Simon. Far as the world, I just wish they put less into visual design and more into player agency, really. Night City is eye candy galore and has truckloads of world building items, but it's built well, but it's a backdrop. Looks great as you roll by, but you don't want to look too deep at what you can do and what you can interact with. And AI schedules and whatnot, because in that department it's super primitive. I agree about the AI schedules. They didn't put the same kind of work as they put into Witcher 3. I think this game would have been far better off not being open world. Interesting. The open world is not utilized enough. You can't enter most buildings unless a quest guides you. It's really uninteractive and there's no autonomy. They were focusing first and foremost on screenshot material and environmental storytelling. That's great and all, but not the main focus of open worlds. That's supposed to be secondary. If they made this a linear game, they could have put time and resources into more meaningful content than a good-looking city and function or that functions like a loading screen with NPCs as particle effects. Could have implemented more narrative non-linearity, major choices matter, less fetch quests that somehow aren't considered fetch quests because you can find logs or get phone calls or dialogue that dump exposition on you. Like just overall a smaller game with more focus, you know? But I don't think giving players the illusion that they're making choices is a cool thing. I think it's insulting. It's all right in something like Uncharted 4, where it's obviously a linear story game, marketed as a linear story game. So you have these dialogue choices that add flavor, a bit of self-insert. In an RPG, though, that shouldn't be the vast majority of choices when you're marketing it, saying it's going to be extremely difficult for two players to have the similar experience because choices. That and there's one thing I thought they'd figure out by Cyberpunk, but didn't, and hope they will in the next game, but probably won't. The level scaling on all accounts is asinine. A way too large portion of the game difficulty relies on simple PC and NPC levels and not mechanical depth, and loot is scaled by a monkey. Finding the same exact weapon over and over and over again with minute differences, gameplay drive, one-on-one includes motivating loot. You can't have that kind of loot system in a game like this. It just doesn't work. That being said, I'm not shitting on the game. Whenever I talk about it, it sounds like I am. Sometimes I kind of do, but I mean, it's a good game. Not great in my opinion, but it's like good now that it functions mostly anyways. Any thoughts on this? And first off, I really appreciate the way that you put criticism. This whole thing is like criticism, but it's constructive criticism. It's fair criticism, and I really appreciate that. That's the route you went, because it's so easy to go like, I saw a bug in a game, it sucked. But you're critiquing the problems you saw, and you're actually inserting ways that they could have made it better. In your eyes, I think your opinion on making it a more linear and shorter game to make it more of a more precise experience, I think is a fair point to make. I think, in that experiment, you could have got something more focused when it comes to the story. And in your opinion, the world that's not necessarily worth exploring as much would benefit. You would have pretty much got Deus Ex with a way better story. Well, Deus Ex is a cool story. It's not told well. But, so yeah, that's a really interesting prospect. I think it's very interesting that you even propose the game could have been, could have possibly achieved something greater if it was developed in a different way. That's a pretty cool criticism in my opinion. Thoughts on everything he said?
Well, I want to start with, first off, how do I word this? These are obviously like your feelings and criticisms of the game and stuff like that. So whatever I have to say here in a moment is not me saying you're wrong as much as me just also sharing my thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, I mean, he can't be wrong. This is what he thinks.
Sure,
so.
I'm just putting that out there for anyone watching. I'm not trying to. This is not an argument. This is just me responding to this and commenting. So, this also probably comes from a place of not enjoying open world games. So I'm gonna have a hard time relating to certain parts of this. When you say the open world's not utilized enough, that's something I guess I'm not paying attention to at all when I played the game, and that's more so going to be a result of me not being super fond of the open world genre in general. I also know that there's a lot of places that you were supposed to access that you just can't because they released the game too early.
Like the subway that they scrap.
Or like all the locked doors everywhere.
Yeah, there's locked doors everywhere. And those were supposed to have interiors.
Sure. And that's kind of, I think, part of I think very much attached to the utilization aspect. I
Yeah.
do think it was in the plan.
Yeah.
So
I think that's a big explanation for a lot of things in the game.
yeah. Let's see. I don't wish they would have on a personal level. Once again, the world looking the way it does, I think is very important. Because a huge part of Cyberpunk is just the style, anyways.
Yeah.
So I actually super appreciate that. My honest wish is the game would have came out 2 years later.
Yeah.
Because I think we would be having completely different conversations at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Narrative non-linearity. This is I can't really respond to that because I don't care enough, I guess, in that regard.
You also haven't finished the game, so
Yeah. The questing part is hard for me to respond on as well because I don't really feel. It feels like every other open world game to me. You're told to go to a place, and it usually involves killing or grabbing something.
Well, the only thing I think feels different than any other open world game is that it has side quests that don't have combat.
Yeah.
And some people might not be into that, but I think for story building, I think it's great.
Yeah.
I like that every once in a while I do like a social quest where I go through and I can decide to do this and that and, you know, have like this world building experience. But it's not action, but it is a quest type that you don't really see in open world games very often. So
for sure. The overall smaller game with more focus, and I think that was tying into the maybe making a linear game instead of an open world game. I mean, I think in a world where we weren't presented an open world game, that idea is not a bad one at all. To be honest, I like linear games though.
I honestly, in a alternate dimension, would like to have seen what that game would have been like.
Sure, that could have been a cool experience.
Yeah, they could have done a lot more with the set pieces, but I think they did a lot with the set pieces in an open world game, so it's already kind of impressive.
I didn't feel like the choices were illusions. We kind of talked about that already. But I think that also depends on how much depth you're looking for in a game. So that is definitely a very personal feeling.
Yeah, it could have been deeper for sure.
Yeah. Trying to get through all this. The level scaling. I think that there's certain types of people who are going to notice that more than others. It's not a non-point for me, so it's hard for me to comment on. I think the loot's fine. It could be better, but I don't think it's bad. I think the crafting system could be a little more fleshed out. It's a little
it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty
straightforward, but there's also like a lot of steps for not a lot of reward out of it, I would say. So yeah, I wish the crafting was a little more in depth because I do feel like you could have a lot of fun with that in a world where like you can mod your body and your guns and your cars and stuff, and the crafting system's literally like collect basic, uncommon, rare, and legendary materials and hit button. So
yeah, I was just like running around. I had a gun. I looked at it and I was like, upgrade. And then I was like, you want to upgrade this? Yeah, well, the parts. I'm like, sure, I did it. And this upgrade, I'm like, sick.
Especially for something that has a skill tree. So
yeah,
I think that's a miss for sure.
Sure.
And
I'm glad it's there. It just could definitely be more interesting
for sure
because it gives you another way of progression.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's basic.
Yeah. And I don't. And obviously, you thought you had to clarify, and with you saying you're not meaning to shit on it, and you think it is a good game. I mean, when we did the episode, and you guys should watch that, obviously, but I graded it the lowest because I do think it is a good game. It's not a great game for me either, though. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, I mean, it's fair. Kris, do you have access to his comment? Do you have anything to reply with it?
Yeah. I think they could have gone further into the design of the cities. I would really like to see like a really hard sci-fi, kind of like Blade Runner kind of look to the city, just like a real gritty, dark, but more like neon-y kind of, cyber tech looking to the city. This city is a fantastic view, but I think they could have gone a little further into the details of it, personally. And the fact that I remember hearing that you were supposed to be able to explore like every single room that you come across and whatnot, and that in itself is a big ordeal to undertake, and I was very skeptical about that to begin with.
It's a big city with multi-leveled fucking buildings. I mean, like, it would have been amazing, but I also feel like they probably would have been cookie cutter fucking apartment buildings with random loot.
Yeah, it would have been a weird algorithm to make the rooms just kind of randomly set up but that being said, it would have been nice, but it's not there, and it is what it is at this point.
Yeah.
And we talked about the feeling of nonlinear experiences and choices not really mattering and things like that. So we covered that already. I don't want to see this brought down to a smaller focused game because it is a tabletop. It is based off a tabletop game, right? That's to my understanding. Yeah. So, and that falls into the same category as the linear experiences, the illusion of choice. You're playing these games, and the DM has a guide of how he wants the story to unfold, and he's going to give you choices. But regardless of what choices you make, he's going to guide you to where he wants to guide you. And I think that transitions to this as well. They're staying true to the subject matter of how the game is originally played. So I don't really have too much of a problem with it personally. And as far as like the open worldness of it goes, I didn't feel like I was being constricted about how I played the game outside of like, okay, this is the main story here that I can follow, but I don't have to follow it. I can go and do whatever I want to do. It felt very much like kind of like a more flashy version of GTA to me, and I enjoyed it immensely. And I didn't play too much of GTA, so
definitely not on a technical level, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, just like the gameplay loop of it felt very much like GTA to me, and I don't mind that at all. And as far as the loot goes, yeah, it could be, there could be a lot more loot to it, but I mean, I guess it depends on what kind of loot you're looking for. Like, I didn't use guns at all in my playthrough. I did straight, katanas, and those are pretty few and far in between as far as my experience in coming across anything. So when I did find them, there was upgrades and rarer ones and stuff like that. It was like this nice like treat of every now and then I got this really good weapon. So I didn't run into that problem personally, but I understand what you're saying. I did notice the trend of certain gangs use certain gun types, and that makes sense in a setting of like, gangs are going to have more affiliates with certain gun models because they're going to have more access to that. And it's going to be easier, like in the grand scheme of a setting that the universe is built in, they're going to have access to that manufacturer's guns and have preferences for that. So it just makes sense. It made sense to me. And yeah, I didn't have too much. I can see where you would have the issues, and they're valid. They're absolutely valid issues, but I just didn't experience it too much personally.
Yeah. I already addressed some of this, but when it comes to like eye candy galore and stuff like that, I do love the way the city looks. It looks how I imagined it, and from the pen and paper, when you look in the books, stuff like that, they really imagined it. I do get what you're saying though, when you're saying like, it just being a backdrop, they put all this work into the city, but they didn't put enough work into other things. I mean, that's fair. There's a lot of things that I wish they would have added to the game that possibly could have not been in the game because of the city itself. I do think the whole project was more ambitious than they were not able to do, but ready to do. So, I think the intricacy of the design of the city and visually how it looks is kind of a feat on its own. I look at all these buildings and how they look and stuff, and even though maybe there isn't a whole lot of interactivity with certain buildings, putting that lightly, I still admire the design. I think it's, especially as like a fan of the pen and paper game, but in the genre, it's just such a cool experience. There's not another game out there that has done what they've done with Cyberpunk. That no one's realized it like they have. So in that sense, it's something I'm very happy with. And the visual style, whether it's the city or the people walking around, all that stuff you got to nail to sell the illusion of Cyberpunk. And I think they did it, outside of, repeating NPCs sometimes and bugs of some kind. I think they put the work in. It looks great. As for what you can do, fetch quests, stuff like that, I think a lot of the quests are kind of samey as most games. I don't think there's a whole lot of games that are doing what these guys are doing in a way that's really pushing the genre. It'd be cool if they did it. Um, but yeah, I kind of feel that way in a lot of games when I played them. I like wish there's more things to do, but most games equate to, hey, go kill these guys, or hey, go get me that thing they got, or hey, go escort this person, or hey, go talk to that guy, or hey, go track, find, look for the thing that's going to lead you to the next thing to click on, and the next thing to click on, and the next thing to click on until you run into a guy you got to fight. Um, so I get where you're coming from, but I think it is something that a lot of games have the same exact problem. So yeah, would have liked more from it, but I was happy with it. And like I said, I think the story missions where there's like no combat, and I remember when this game first came out, people would watch people stream it and they'd be like, this game's boring. I'm like, I think you should go back to playing Fortnite then, maybe. And that's not supposed to be an insult. Any game that has more action going on, Call of Duty, whatever, a fighting game, Tekken, whatever. Something where you can just get in and do shit and get to it. But I do like that they have that they care so much about the story that they can offer you quests that are for pure immersion and world building. That's awesome. And a lot of them had interactivity, things you didn't have to do or could do, things you could see that maybe somebody else didn't see, items that if you don't have, you're not keeping an eye out for it, you're not going to get it. That kind of stuff, which I thought was cool. But I mean, your point still stands. They could have done more for sure. Let's see. And then yeah, backdrop, loading screen with NPCs or whatever. I can see that point as well. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I could definitely see that. I get where you're coming from. I am curious about a linear version of this game. The game is more into its world design, not in the gameplay sense, but just visual style and its storytelling. It's more involved in that than other elements of the game. So I think if they did just like do something linear and really could focus on storytelling, I think they probably would have done a much better job with releasing the game, finishing it, realizing something that maybe felt a little more straightforward in the way that they're telling a story. But I do like that they tried to do what most developers don't even fucking try to do and make a big open world with a lot of shit to do, a lot of things to find, and a lot of stories to tell, and do that in a cinematic way. Cyberpunk's not perfect, but it does a lot of set pieces that games less ambitious don't do. So yeah, I kind of lost myself where I'm going with that one, but a linear game would have definitely been the easier route to do that and a more straightforward route to do that for sure. But I'm glad they didn't do it, but I would be curious to see if they did that, how that would have turned out. I think the game lends itself to an open world that, like you said, wasn't necessarily enough for you, but was acceptable for me. Let's see. The next game probably won't. Level scaling. It feels. I don't know if I'd say asinine, but it does feel off slightly because I'm at the point where almost every mission I do is very easy at this point. Luckily, I enjoy playing the game. I love exploring the game, but there's almost no challenge anymore. So as for level scaling, I don't know much about how that works outside of that my guy's just too powerful now for most of the characters, although there are some quests that are like very hard, and they're not that hard, but there is a lot of bullet sponging going on there. And then loot scaling, it seems like the loot just goes up as you level. But when it comes to the variety of weapons, I don't mind it too much just because in real life, if you're running around just fighting people, you probably run into a lot of AK-47s, a lot of AR-15s, a lot of M4s, 9mm, M1911s, all the common things, Glocks. And they'd all have their own little flares and attachments to whoever owned it before. So you're pretty much getting that same experience here, I guess, except for in this, some of the weapons are rarer than others and have different types of attachments and upgrades you can put on them. So I didn't mind it too much. I did enjoy the loot, although clothing loot I had to learn to like, because it is kind of weird that different styles just have different stats. And so you just start looking kind of crazy, but you can upgrade those to make them, viable. So if you just really liked that outfit, you can make it work.
Or just not worry about the armor too much.
Or don't worry about the armor, which and there's a lot of perks to kind of make that not matter as much. So yeah, that's definitely, that's a thing I could see either way. I'm okay with it. If someone doesn't like it, I get it.
This is an easy fix if they just added like a glamour system.
Yeah, they should absolutely do that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I'm glad that you can criticize the game, still say it's good. I mean, that's important. I can criticize any game really.
For sure.
There's very few games. There's no game I'll call perfect, but Deep Rock Galactic, but it's a perfect game. But
I don't agree.
It's so good, but I still haven't given it an A. It's a very fun game though. That's one of my forever games. But Metal Gear Solid, all those games. But yeah, it's important to be able to criticize games, and there are some deep problems with the game for sure. And of course, with the launch, you didn't even talk about that, which I appreciated. My whole thing, I was really excited to review this game because I was like, we're gonna fucking talk about the game. We're gonna talk about fucking gameplay, story, all that shit. We're not gonna talk about bugs. Everybody fucking knows there's a problem with that, and we didn't do that. You didn't do that either. So I appreciate your perspective, and I think you have a lot of really good points to add in there, particularly the linear thing. I think that's really interesting point. And yeah, thank you for the fucking big ass comment. Thanks for joining the conversation. Anything else you guys want to add to that?
I think it's pretty much covered.
Yeah,
pretty good for writer's block. And thank you everybody for joining the conversation. Thank you everybody who's voting. Make sure to type in GOTM plus the game that you want to vote for. You get one vote per video in all the videos in September, and only September. That includes uploaded streams. Just go into the comments, type in GOTM. We will tally them all, and at the end of the month, we'll figure it out. And yeah, that's going to do it for this episode of Tastycast, episode 148. As always, thank you for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this episode. Make sure to check out our other episodes. Check us out on social media and streams, links down below. Our Discord link down below. You can talk to us anytime, all the time. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and other podcast platforms if you prefer to listen to us in audio form. And we have a Patreon if you'd like to support the channel more than liking this video, commenting, sharing this video around, and subscribing. If you're brand new, I want to thank Chevy and Kris for joining me on this wonky ass fucking technical problems all night, filming until almost 5 a.m. and you guys got to work. I appreciate you guys making the effort. And yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. I'm sure we got a stream to do for PlayStation, so look forward to that. Till the next episode, I've been Seth. Have a good one, guys, and take it easy.